Tonight, we wander through the hidden decisions that rest beneath Fallout 4's familiar roads. The choices so subtle they pass like distant wind across ruined rooftops. Every whispered response, every alliance accepted or delayed, every life spared or ended carries consequences that linger long after the moment fades. As we drift through these secret paths, we will gently trace the rare outcomes few travelers ever see. There is no rush here, only a calm chronicle of unseen futures waiting patiently beneath the surface of the world. In the Commonwealth, every action unfolds quietly, often without ceremony or announcement, woven into the fabric of a world that rarely explains itself. From the first moment a wanderer steps beyond the broken doors of Vault 111, unseen systems begin to take note. Words spoken in passing, favors granted without expectation, and moments of hesitation are all recorded in subtle ways, stored deep within the invisible structure that governs this land. These records are not written in ledgers or displayed upon screens. They exist instead as shifting patterns, guiding future encounters and shaping how others respond. Fallout 4 does not present its choices as obvious crossroads marked by warning signs. There are few moments where the path ahead is labeled clearly as good or evil, loyal or treacherous. Instead, most decisions arrive softly, hidden within ordinary conversations or routine tasks. A simple agreement to help a stranger, a refusal to take sides, or a careless remark made in frustration can alter the tone of an entire relationship. Over time, these small movements accumulate, forming a personal history that follows the wanderer wherever they travel. Beneath the surface, complex systems observe these behaviors. Faction reputations shift quietly as loyalties are tested. Companions measure trust through repeated patterns rather than single heroic acts. Settlement leaders remember whether aid arrived swiftly or was delayed. Even distant organizations, never encountered directly, may react based on information carried through whispers and reports. Nothing exists in isolation. Every action echoes outward, blending into a larger narrative that rarely announces itself. Dialogue plays a central role in this hidden structure. Conversations are not merely vehicles for exposition. They are instruments that shape future possibilities. A polite tone may open doors that remain sealed to those who speak harshly. Certain responses, offered at precise moments, unlock layers of understanding that remain invisible to others. These exchanges are less like switches and more like slow adjustments, subtly recalibrating how the world perceives its visitor. Alongside spoken choices, actions themselves carry quiet weight. Choosing to resolve conflict peacefully rather than through force alters more than immediate outcomes. It influences how entire communities interpret authority and intent. Offering consistent support to struggling settlements builds not only defenses, but confidence and loyalty. Ignoring pleas for assistance allows doubt to take root, slowly reshaping how safety and trust are distributed across the map. These effects unfold gradually, often unnoticed until much later. The Commonwealth also measures restraint. Not every opportunity must be seized. Not every weapon must be fired. Sometimes, choosing not to intervene produces consequences as meaningful as decisive action. Allowing events to unfold naturally may preserve fragile balances or allow hidden truths to surface. At other times, silence can be interpreted as indifference. The absence of choice becomes in its own way, a choice that the world remembers. Moral clarity is rarely offered in simple terms. Fallout 4 presents situations layered with competing needs and incomplete information. A faction promising order may conceal cruelty. A group fighting for freedom may rely on deception. The wanderer is asked repeatedly to act without full certainty, guided only by personal values and limited perspective. These moments do not resolve cleanly. They remain embedded in future interactions, shaping how others judge intentions and reliability. Behind these visible systems lies an intricate network of variables, many never shown directly. Affinity values rise and fall based on patterns of behavior. Quest states shift when conditions are met or ignored. Timers advance silently, closing doors that once stood open. Certain storylines require precise alignments of loyalty, timing, and dialogue to unfold fully. Others disappear quietly when overlooked, leaving no marker behind to indicate what was lost. This design encourages attentiveness rather than urgency. Those who move slowly, who listen carefully, and who consider consequences often encounter richer outcomes. Those who rush forward, driven by immediate rewards, may never realize how many possibilities passed unnoticed beside them. The game does not punish impatience with overt failure. Instead, it responds with absence, with stories that never quite begin, with characters who remain strangers. Over time, these accumulated choices form a living record. Each playthrough becomes a unique chronicle shaped by thousands of minor decisions. No two journeys unfold in precisely the same way, even when major milestones appear similar. The Commonwealth adapts continuously, reflecting the wanderer's habits, priorities, and compromises. It becomes not only a setting, but a mirror, quietly reflecting the patterns of the one who moves through it. In this world, destiny is not written in grand declarations. It is assembled slowly from ordinary moments, a conversation held patiently, a conflict resolved gently, a promise kept when no one seemed to be watching. These fragments gather, forming unseen paths that lead toward rare endings and hidden resolutions. Understanding this silent architecture is the first step in recognizing how every small choice, no matter how insignificant it appears, shapes the many futures waiting quietly beyond the horizon. Before the ruins of the Commonwealth ever come into view, before cracked highways and broken towers define the horizon, the first quiet choices are already being made within the sealed walls of Vault 111. Here, in a carefully preserved fragment of the old world, identity takes its earliest shape. The selection of features, voice, and demeanor is more than cosmetic. It establishes the tone through which future conversations will unfold. Subtle differences in speech and presence influence how others respond, forming the foundation for relationships that will develop much later. Life inside the vault appears peaceful on the surface, guided by routines and gentle reassurances. Yet even in these early moments, attentiveness matters. Conversations with neighbors, brief exchanges with vault technicians, and reactions to unfolding emergencies are quietly observed. The way one responds to confusion, fear, or authority begins shaping an unseen reputation. These impressions linger, carried forward into memories that resurface in unexpected ways. When the alarms sound and the evacuation begins, urgency fills every corridor. Still, small decisions remain possible. Comforting a frightened spouse, speaking calmly to vault staff, or responding with impatience, all become part of an internal record. None of these actions produces immediate consequences. They are seeds planted in silence, waiting for the right moment to influence future reflections and emotional responses. After awakening in the frozen chamber and stepping into a vault transformed by time, another layer of choice emerges. The treatment of the vault's lone caretaker, Codsworth, becomes the first true test of post-war character. Speaking kindly reinforces bonds formed before the war. Responding with bitterness creates distance that may never fully heal. Codsworth remembers not only what is said, but how it is said, carrying those impressions forward through countless interactions. Exploration of the vault itself offers further hidden paths. Reading terminals, listening to recorded messages, and observing environmental details reveal fragments of truth about Vault 111's true purpose. Some travelers rush past these clues, focused only on escape. Others linger, assembling a clearer understanding of the experiment that unfolded here. This knowledge does not alter major story beats, but it shapes internal perspective, influencing later dialogue and emotional interpretation. Upon emerging into the light of a changed world, Sanctuary Hills waits in silence. The ruins of familiar homes stand as quiet witnesses to earlier lives. How one reacts to this discovery matters. Taking time to explore thoroughly, reflecting on personal loss, and engaging thoughtfully with surviving memories deepens later conversations with companions and allies. Moving forward without pause suggests resilience, but also distance from the past. Returning to Codsworth after exploring Sanctuary establishes another early branch. Honest vulnerability opens deeper exchanges. Emotional restraint keeps interactions formal. Certain dialogue options only appear if earlier responses aligned with empathy and patience. These pathways are delicate, easily missed, and rarely explained. They depend not on dramatic acts, but on consistent tone. Even early scavenging carries subtle influence. Choosing what to salvage first reflects priorities. Preserving household objects, gathering defensive equipment, or focusing on construction materials shapes how initial settlements develop. These choices influence early stability and determine which support structures form first. Over time, these early foundations ripple outward, affecting supply networks and community confidence. The first journey toward Concord introduces further quiet evaluations. Agreeing immediately to investigate distress calls signals a willingness to engage. Delaying reflects caution. Both paths remain valid, yet each frames how nearby groups perceive reliability. Word travels slowly through wasteland networks, but it does travel. Patterns established early become reputations later. Throughout these opening hours, Fallout 4 avoids dramatic signposting. No message appears announcing permanent consequences. No visible meter displays moral standing. Instead, the world listens. It watches how fear is handled, how grief is expressed, and how uncertainty is navigated. These early choices remain dormant for long stretches, resurfacing only when trust, leadership, and loyalty are tested. Vault 111 thus serves as more than an origin point. It functions as a quiet proving ground where identity is shaped through small gestures and understated responses. Every tone chosen, every moment of patience or frustration becomes part of an invisible ledger. Long before factions are joined and alliances forged, the Commonwealth has already begun forming its understanding of who has emerged from the vault and what kind of future that person may quietly bring with them. Sanctuary Hills rests at the edge of memory and possibility, suspended between what once was and what may yet become. Its quiet streets and shattered homes offer no clear instructions. There is no authority waiting to assign purpose, no guide to explain how renewal should begin. Instead, the wanderer stands alone among familiar ruins, surrounded by fragments of a former life, and is invited to decide, slowly and deliberately, what kind of refuge this place will become. The earliest acts of rebuilding carry more weight than they appear. Choosing which structures to repair first shapes not only physical layout, but emotional atmosphere. Restoring a childhood home before constructing defensive walls emphasizes continuity and remembrance. Prioritizing fortifications signals caution and readiness for conflict. Neither approach is judged openly, yet both influence how settlers later interpret leadership and intention. Resource collection becomes an unspoken language. Water pumps, crops, generators, and beds form the foundation of trust. When basic needs are met quickly, settlers develop confidence and loyalty. Delays introduce uncertainty. Even when no one voices complaint, subtle shifts occur in productivity, morale, and long-term resilience. These patterns persist, influencing how nearby communities evaluate Sanctuary's reliability as a partner. The arrival of displaced survivors introduces another layer of quiet evaluation. Offering immediate shelter communicates openness. Hesitation suggests boundaries. Assigning work thoughtfully builds shared purpose. Neglect fosters disengagement. These choices rarely produce dramatic scenes. Instead, they manifest through small changes in tone, work ethic, and willingness to defend the settlement when threatened. Leadership in Sanctuary is never formally declared. It is demonstrated through consistency, regular repairs, prompt responses to attacks, and steady provision of resources. Establish authority without ceremony. Over time, this silent governance extends beyond Sanctuary itself. Other settlements begin to mirror its practices, adopting similar structures and expectations. In this way, early organizational habits quietly shape regional development. Interactions with Preston Garvey during these formative stages carry lasting influence. Agreeing quickly to assist with settlement expansion reinforces mutual trust. Delaying or avoiding commitments introduces strain. Though Preston remains outwardly supportive, his dialogue and availability shift subtly in response to perceived dedication. The Minutemen's eventual strength depends heavily on these early patterns of cooperation. Construction choices also communicate values. Establishing communal spaces encourages social cohesion. Creating private quarters emphasizes individual autonomy. Defensive towers project strength. Decorative elements express stability and hope. None of these decisions alters major storylines directly, yet together they form a visual and emotional narrative that settlers and visitors internalize. Trade routes, once established, further extend Sanctuary's influence. Prioritizing commerce fosters interdependence. Isolating the settlement preserves independence. Each approach carries risks and rewards that unfold gradually. Prosperity attracts attention, both friendly and hostile. Self-sufficiency reduces vulnerability but limits growth. These dynamics are rarely explained, leaving the wanderer to interpret outcomes through observation. Even the placement of objects holds meaning. Memorials, preserved relics, and personal artifacts maintain connection to the past. Removing them signals readiness to move forward. Companions often respond indirectly to these choices, commenting on atmosphere and tone. Their reactions reflect broader, emotional undercurrents within the settlement. As Sanctuary grows, it becomes more than a base of operations. It transforms into a symbolic center. Its condition reflects the wanderer's philosophy, order or improvisation, compassion or pragmatism, stability or constant adaptation. Visitors absorb these cues immediately, forming impressions that influence later negotiations and alliances. Neglect carries consequences as well. Settlements left unattended deteriorate quietly. Crops fail, defenses weaken, morale declines. Requests for assistance become more frequent. Over time, such patterns erode regional confidence. While no single failure is catastrophic, accumulation creates vulnerability that later crises exploit. Sanctuary's early development thus operates as a silent curriculum in leadership. It teaches through feedback rather than instruction. Every choice becomes part of an ongoing experiment in governance and community building. Mistakes are rarely punished directly. Instead, they reappear later as logistical challenges, strained relationships, or missed opportunities. Through these slow processes, Sanctuary evolves into a living record of intention. It preserves the wanderer's early priorities long after memory fades. Whether it stands as a beacon of cooperation or a guarded outpost of survival depends entirely on those first quiet hours of rebuilding. In shaping its foundations, the wanderer unknowingly shapes the tone of every settlement that follows, extending influence far beyond the familiar streets where it all began. The road to Concord unfolds gently, winding through quiet stretches of broken pavement and scattered debris, offering no clear indication that it will soon mark a turning point. To many travelers, it appears as just another ruined town, another cluster of abandoned buildings shaped by time and neglect. Yet beneath its faded storefronts and silent streets waits a moment that quietly determines whether the Minutemen will rise again or remain a forgotten idea. Approaching Concord, the first signals are subtle. Distant gunfire echoes faintly. Shadows move between shattered windows. The air carries a sense of unresolved tension. At this stage, the Wanderer is under no obligation to intervene. It is entirely possible to observe from a distance, to pass by without becoming involved, and to continue toward other destinations. This decision, seemingly minor, establishes the earliest branch in Preston Garvey's future. Choosing to enter the conflict places the Wanderer immediately within a narrative of protection and leadership. Assisting trapped settlers demonstrates willingness to risk personal safety for strangers. Remaining outside preserves neutrality. Neither path is condemned. The Commonwealth records both with equal silence, yet the consequences unfold over time, shaping how Preston and his companions interpret trust. Inside the Museum of Freedom, urgency fills the narrow halls. Raiders press forward. Refugees cling to fragile hope. Preston's tone reflects exhaustion and uncertainty. Here, dialogue choices matter less for immediate outcomes and more for emotional framing. Words of reassurance reinforce solidarity. Skeptical responses introduce distance. These early impressions linger, influencing later conversations about duty and responsibility. Accepting Preston's request to retrieve the power armor marks another quiet threshold. Climbing into the frame and wielding the minigun projects authority and resolve. It establishes the Wanderer as someone willing to embrace visible leadership. Declining or delaying reflects caution. Some travelers choose to resolve the conflict without using this equipment, preserving it for later. This alternative approach alters how the group perceives strength and adaptability. The battle with the Deathclaw operates as more than a spectacle. It functions as a symbolic test. Direct confrontation demonstrates courage. Strategic positioning reveals patience. Avoidance suggests prudence. Companions internalize these behaviors, forming expectations that surface later during crises. No single tactic is labeled superior. Each contributes to an evolving portrait of leadership style. After the danger subsides, conversations resume in calmer tones. Preston expresses gratitude, tinged with vulnerability. Here, deeper branches emerge. Agreeing to escort the group to sanctuary signals commitment. Suggesting separation emphasizes independence. Refusing involvement entirely closes future Minutemen paths. The game does not dramatize this divergence. It simply allows possibilities to fade. For those who accompany Preston, the journey back becomes an extended evaluation. Small interactions along the road, comments about safety, and responses to concerns reinforce or weaken trust. By the time sanctuary is reached, a relationship framework has already been established, influencing how future requests are framed and received. Ignoring Preston at Concord produces an entirely different trajectory. The Minutemen remain fragmented. Radiant settlement quests never activate. Certain endings become inaccessible, yet this path is not presented as failure. It reflects a world where ideals of organized protection never find reinforcement. Even partial involvement creates nuanced outcomes. Some travelers assist in the battle but decline long-term leadership. Others help later, returning after exploring elsewhere. These delayed commitments generate distinct dialogue variations and pacing. Preston responds differently to those who arrive immediately and those who return after reflection. The decision to help also influences early settlement patterns. Minutemen-aligned sanctuary develops as a hub for regional defense. Patrols expand. Communications improve. Refugees arrive. Without this alliance, settlements remain isolated, relying more heavily on personal strength and trade networks. These structural differences persist throughout the game. Leadership within the Minutemen is never formally assigned through ceremony. It emerges through repeated cooperation. Accepting early responsibilities accelerates this process. Hesitating slows it. Over time, Preston's dialogue shifts from tentative requests to confident coordination. These changes reflect accumulated trust rather than scripted progression. Concord also establishes the Wanderer's reputation among civilians. News spreads through traders and settlers. Stories circulate about intervention or indifference. These narratives subtly affect how strangers approach future encounters. Offers may come more readily, skepticism may linger. Though rarely acknowledged directly, these perceptions shape social texture. The power armor itself becomes a symbol tied to this moment. Using it early associates the Wanderer with technological authority. Saving it for later emphasizes restraint. Some companions comment on these choices, interpreting them through personal values. Their reactions inform future affinity growth. Returning later to Concord after bypassing the initial encounter reveals quiet transformations. Raiders may have moved on. Survivors may be gone. Opportunities may have expired. These absences serve as reminders that time advances regardless of participation. The world does not wait indefinitely. In this way, Concord functions as a crossroads, disguised as a skirmish. It invites involvement without demanding it. It offers leadership without imposing it. It tests willingness without issuing ultimatums. Through understated design, it establishes whether the Wanderer will become a rallying figure or remain a solitary presence. Preston Garvey's fate intertwines with this decision. With early support, he regains purpose and confidence. Without it, he remains adrift, his ideals unsupported. His later dialogue reflects these early foundations, revealing optimism or quiet resignation depending on past choices. The encounter teaches an early lesson in Fallout 4's philosophy. Major storylines are rarely triggered by dramatic declarations. They begin with ordinary responses to ordinary crises. A choice to help, a choice to wait, a choice to walk away. Each opens or closes futures without fanfare. Long after Concord fades into memory, its influence persists. Settlement networks, faction strength, and personal alliances trace their origins back to this brief confrontation. Whether remembered as a beginning or a missed opportunity depends entirely on how the Wanderer responded to distant gunfire on a quiet road, and whether they chose, in that moment, to step forward into responsibility or continue on alone. Diamond City rises from the remains of Fenway Park like a quiet promise of order in a restless land. Its green walls encircle not only homes and markets, but expectations, traditions, and fragile systems of authority. For many travelers, it appears as a destination of safety and stability, yet beneath its organized streets and familiar routines lies a network of subtle reputations and quiet influence shaped by every interaction. Entering the city for the first time establishes an immediate tone. Guards observe carefully, merchants listen. Citizens notice how newcomers behave. Politeness invites openness. Impatience creates distance. Though no formal record is kept, impressions circulate quickly through conversation and observation. These early perceptions influence how readily assistance is offered and how openly information is shared. The encounter with Piper Wright at the gate marks an early opportunity for alignment. Supporting her confrontation with Mayor McDonough signals a willingness to challenge authority. Remaining silent reflects caution. Dismissing her reinforces acceptance of official narratives. Each response positions the Wanderer within Diamond City's ongoing political tension, shaping future dialogue and trust. Piper's personal relationship develops through these initial moments. Encouragement strengthens mutual respect. Skepticism introduces reserve. Over time, these foundations affect how she interprets later actions, and whether she views the Wanderer as an ally in seeking truth or merely a passing visitor. Her articles and conversations subtly reflect these perceptions. Within the marketplace, commerce becomes another form of communication. Fair negotiation builds rapport. Aggressive bargaining strains relationships. Consistent patronage establishes familiarity. Vendors remember reliable customers, adjusting tone and offerings accordingly. These interactions may seem routine, yet they influence access to rumors, discounts, and side opportunities. Mayor McDonough's presence casts a constant shadow. His speeches emphasize safety and stability, while his policies restrict certain groups. How one responds to these messages shapes political positioning. Questioning his authority quietly aligns with dissent. Public support reinforces the status quo. These choices affect later revelations and the willingness of citizens to confide in sensitive matters. Investigating the mayor's secrets requires careful navigation, timing, dialogue selection, and prior relationships determine which clues become available. Those who rush may miss critical connections. Those who listen patiently uncover layered narratives. The path toward exposing hidden truths depends not on force, but on accumulated credibility. Security personnel also evaluate behavior. Cooperation during incidents earns respect. Disregard invites scrutiny. Over time, guards adjust their demeanor, offering guidance or maintaining distance. Their reactions influence how freely the wanderer moves within restricted areas and how quickly assistance arrives during conflicts. The public radio station and newspaper serve as instruments of perception. Piper's reporting reflects not only facts, but interpretations shaped by her experiences. Supporting investigative journalism strengthens transparency. Undermining it preserves comfort. These choices subtly influence citywide attitudes toward outsiders and authority. Housing opportunities present another layer. Accepting residents within the city signals commitment. Remaining transient maintains flexibility. Residents interpret permanence as investment in communal welfare. This perception influences social integration and access to neighborhood networks. Side quests within Diamond City often intersect with personal reputations. Helping local residents builds goodwill. Ignoring requests fosters quiet resentment. Over time, clusters of supportive or skeptical voices emerge, shaping overall atmosphere. These shifts are rarely dramatic, yet they define how welcome one feels. Companions respond to Diamond City dynamics as well. Some admire civic order, others distrust centralized authority. Their affinity rises or falls based on choices made here, reinforcing personal philosophies. These reactions influence later loyalty and dialogue depth. The city's treatment of synths reveals deeper ethical currents. Observing or participating in discriminatory practices affects how certain characters perceive moral alignment. Defending marginalized groups strengthens trust with some factions, while alienating others. These outcomes emerge gradually through altered conversations and opportunities. Diamond City's medical facilities, schools, and public services reflect broader governance. Supporting these institutions enhances stability. Undermining them weakens social cohesion. These effects ripple outward, influencing refugee flows and economic patterns. Even seemingly trivial actions, such as resolving minor disputes or returning lost items, contribute to reputation. The city remembers patterns of reliability. Over time, these accumulate into an unspoken profile that influences how major storylines unfold. As revelations about McDonough surface, earlier positioning determines available responses. Allies emerge among journalists and officials. Skeptics remain distant. The resolution of political intrigue varies based on how trust was cultivated. Some paths lead to public exposure. Others conclude quietly, preserving fragile peace. After major events, Diamond City adapts. News spreads. Conversations shift. Posters change. Guards adjust routines. These environmental responses reflect earlier choices, reinforcing the sense of a living society shaped by participation. Returning later in the journey reveals these long-term effects. Markets may flourish or stagnate. Citizens may greet warmly or cautiously. Piper's tone may carry admiration or reserve. The mayor's legacy may linger openly or remain concealed. Through these layered systems, Diamond City becomes a mirror of civic engagement. It rewards patience, integrity, and attentiveness with access and influence. It responds to indifference with distance. No single action defines reputation. It is built slowly through consistent behavior. In navigating its streets, the wanderer learns that power here rarely arrives through conquest. It emerges through conversation, credibility, and quiet persistence. Diamond City does not announce when influence has been gained. It reveals it gradually, through doors that open more easily, voices that speak more freely, and truths that surface only for those who have earned the right to hear them. Nick Valentine waits in the shadows between memory and machinery, standing quietly at the crossroads of what was once human and what now endures through circuitry and code. Encountering him for the first time introduces not only a capable detective, but a living question about identity, loyalty, and belonging. From the moment his story begins to unfold, every interaction contributes to how deeply his synthetic nature will be understood and respected. Rescuing Nick from confinement establishes the foundation of this relationship. Acting quickly signals empathy and curiosity. Delaying suggests caution. Approaching the situation with compassion frames him as a person rather than a tool. Treating it as a transactional task creates emotional distance. These early impressions shape how openly Nick shares his thoughts in later conversations. Once freed, Nick's demeanor reflects quiet gratitude mixed with long-standing weariness. He speaks with the voice of someone who has witnessed too many endings and too few beginnings. Listening patiently encourages deeper exchanges. Rushing through dialogue maintains surface-level professionalism. Over time, these patterns determine whether he becomes a trusted confidant or remains a reserved associate. His office in Diamond City serves as more than a workplace. It is a repository of unresolved histories and unspoken regrets. Observing the photographs, files, and memorabilia reveals fragments of a life he never lived, yet somehow remembers. A wanderer who engages thoughtfully with these details gains insight into his internal conflict. One who ignores them misses layers of meaning that influence later storylines. The investigation into Eddie Winter's past becomes a central axis in Nick's development. This long-running case connects his present to a borrowed memory from another era. Approaching the quest methodically, collecting holotapes, and reflecting on their contents demonstrates respect for his emotional investment. Rushing toward resolution minimizes its significance. Each recording deepens his struggle with inherited identity. Responses during these moments matter greatly. Expressing understanding reinforces trust. Dismissing the relevance of the past weakens emotional bonds. Nick measures sincerity through consistency rather than grand gestures. He watches how often compassion is extended, how often patience is practiced, and how often difficult truths are acknowledged. Throughout shared travels, Nick reacts strongly to moral choices. He approves of fairness, transparency, and thoughtful negotiation. He disapproves of unnecessary cruelty and deception. These reactions are subtle, conveyed through brief comments and shifts in tone. Over time, they accumulate, influencing affinity growth and unlocking deeper dialogue. The question of synthetic personhood remains central. Supporting synth rights affirms his sense of legitimacy. Participating in discrimination reinforces internal doubt. These positions affect how he speaks about himself and others. In high affinity states, he begins to articulate fears and hopes more openly, revealing vulnerabilities that remain hidden otherwise. Conversations about memory reveal another dimension. Nick carries fragments of a pre-war detective's life, yet lacks true ownership of those experiences. Discussing these matters thoughtfully encourages philosophical reflection. Avoiding them maintains emotional distance. Certain dialogue options only appear when earlier exchanges establish trust and respect. During dangerous missions, Leadership style influences his perception. Strategic restraint earns admiration. Recklessness generates concern. Protectiveness reinforces partnership. Indifference weakens connection. These impressions surface later in personal conversations, shaping how he interprets loyalty and reliability. Romantic involvement is not available, yet emotional intimacy remains possible. High affinity unlocks moments of shared reflection where Nick expresses gratitude and quiet companionship. These scenes depend on accumulated kindness rather than single decisions. Missing key approval moments delays or prevents them entirely. Nick's relationship with other companions also reflects player influence. When exposed to repeated moral compromise, his interactions grow guarded. These shifts reinforce the interconnected nature of relationship systems. The resolution of the Eddie Winter investigation marks a pivotal point. Choosing how to handle final revelations affects Nick's closure. Offering support validates his struggle. Pressuring for immediate resolution emphasizes pragmatism. After this quest concludes, Nick's outlook subtly changes. With understanding and encouragement, he becomes more confident in his hybrid identity. Without it, uncertainty lingers. These internal states shape his commentary during later main story events, coloring his interpretations of synth politics and Institute actions. In encounters with the Railroad and Institute, Nick's reactions reveal accumulated trust. He speaks more assertively when he feels supported. He remains cautious when bonds are weaker. These variations influence available dialogue options and emotional depth. His responses to revelations about Shaun and the Institute are particularly telling. High trust leads to empathetic counsel. Low trust results in restrained professionalism. These differences alter the emotional texture of key narrative moments without altering major outcomes. Nick's affinity perk symbolizes this journey. It represents not merely combat effectiveness, but earned partnership. Reaching this stage requires consistent alignment with his values across many hours of play. There is no shortcut. It is built through repeated demonstration of integrity. Even after major story arcs conclude, Nick continues to reflect earlier choices. His idle dialogue, travel commentary, and environmental reactions carry traces of past interactions. These details reinforce the sense of a persistent inner life shaped by experience. Failing to invest in this relationship produces a quieter outcome. Nick remains helpful and competent, yet emotionally distant. His deeper reflections remain inaccessible. The opportunity for shared understanding fades without explicit notice. In this way, Nick Valentine embodies Fallout 4's approach to character development. He does not transform through scripted moments alone. He evolves through sustained patterns of respect, honesty, and patience. His story demonstrates that identity is not defined solely by origin, but by how others choose to recognize and engage with it. Through countless small conversations and shared decisions, the Wanderer determines whether Nick becomes merely a useful ally or a fully realized companion with a sense of belonging. In acknowledging his synthetic nature without reducing him to it, the player helps shape a rare outcome, a being born of code and memory, who finds quiet affirmation in a world still learning how to define humanity. The Brotherhood of Steel arrives in the Commonwealth not as a sudden invasion, but as a distant presence felt long before it is fully understood. Long before their airship darkens the sky, their influence is sensed through scattered patrols, encrypted broadcasts, and fragments of reputation carried by travelers. For those who listen carefully, the Brotherhood begins evaluating potential allies long before formal contact is established. Early encounters with Brotherhood personnel serve as quiet assessments. Assisting patrols under attack demonstrates reliability. Ignoring distress signals suggests independence. Speaking respectfully reinforces discipline. Casual irreverence introduces doubt. None of these responses provoke immediate consequences. Instead, they are stored within an internal framework that shapes how later opportunities are offered. The first major point of contact often comes through Paladin Danse. His demeanor reflects unwavering commitment to Brotherhood doctrine, tempered by a personal sense of honor. Initial conversations establish whether he views the Wanderer as a capable recruit, a useful asset, or a temporary associate. Tone matters more than content. Confidence balanced with humility earns respect. Arrogance undermines trust. Accepting missions from Danse initiates a period of silent monitoring. Performance in these tasks is evaluated not only by completion, but by method. Efficient execution reflects discipline. Reckless aggression raises concerns. Mercy towards civilians reinforces ethical alignment. Excessive brutality contradicts Brotherhood ideals. These impressions accumulate quietly, shaping promotion eligibility and dialogue depth. The retrieval of advanced technology becomes an early test of loyalty. Choosing to secure artifacts for Brotherhood use signals alignment with preservation doctrine. Withholding information introduces ambiguity. Sharing discoveries with rival factions creates long-term tension. The Brotherhood rarely confronts these choices directly. Instead, it adjusts access and authority accordingly. As interactions deepen, surveillance becomes more apparent. Terminals record activities. Officers exchange reports. Casual remarks reference earlier actions. These subtle cues reveal that the organization maintains extensive internal records. Even distant decisions, made far from Brotherhood facilities, may influence evaluations later. Upon formal induction, rank becomes both privilege and responsibility. Advancement is not automatic. It depends on sustained behavioral pattern. Completing radiant missions consistently, maintaining operational discipline, and demonstrating ideological alignment accelerate progression. These mechanics reinforce the Brotherhood's hierarchical culture. Speech checks play a significant role in shaping perception. Strategic persuasion may resolve conflicts peacefully, earning respect for diplomacy. Blunt confrontation demonstrates strength but risks alienation. Deception may succeed temporarily, yet damages credibility. Officers remember how problems are solved, not merely whether they are solved. Internal politics also shape outcomes. Officers differ in temperament and priorities. Some value innovation, others emphasize tradition. Navigating these dynamics requires attentiveness. Supporting certain initiatives aligns the Wanderer with specific factions within the organization, influencing later access to sensitive information. The Pridwin functions as both headquarters and symbolic center. Behavior aboard the airship is closely observed. Interactions with crew members, treatment of subordinates, and adherence to protocols all contribute to reputation. Even minor infractions, when repeated, create patterns that affect long-term standing. Missions involving civilian populations present ethical challenges. Enforcing Brotherhood authority harshly projects strength but fosters resentment. Negotiating cooperation builds goodwill but may be seen as weakness. These decisions influence how local communities view the Brotherhood and its representatives, shaping future conflicts. The organization's stance on synths introduces deep moral tension. Expressing agreement with anti-synth policies reinforces ideological conformity. Questioning them signals independent thinking. Open opposition creates internal friction. These positions affect access to sensitive operations and leadership trust. As trust increases, higher-ranking officers begin sharing strategic concerns. Classified information becomes available. Sensitive assignments are offered. These privileges depend entirely on accumulated credibility. Missing key approval thresholds may permanently close certain narrative paths. Throughout this process, Maxon remains a distant but influential presence. His perception is shaped indirectly through reports and outcomes. Decisions made in remote locations eventually reach his attention. Patterns of reliability and obedience determine his level of confidence. Interactions with Brotherhood scientists and engineers offer additional pathways. Supporting research initiatives strengthens technological authority. Interfering introduces suspicion. These relationships influence access to advanced equipment and experimental projects. Companions react differently to Brotherhood alignment. Some admire its order and strength. Others distrust its rigidity. Their affinity changes reflect these tensions. Balancing faction loyalty with companion values becomes increasingly complex. Failures are rarely punished publicly. Instead, they result in reduced responsibilities and fewer opportunities. Promotions stall, requests diminish, influence fades quietly. This subtle disciplinary approach reinforces internal conformity. Conversely, exceptional performance generates increasing autonomy. Trusted operatives receive discretion in mission execution. Dialogue options expand. Leadership consults more frequently. These changes are gradual, reinforcing immersion. Certain rare dialogue paths appear only when multiple conditions align. High rank, ideological consistency, and favorable prior interactions unlock conversations, revealing deeper institutional concerns. These moments offer insight into the Brotherhood's vulnerabilities and internal debates. Missions involving the Institute serve as crucial evaluations. Loyalty is tested through difficult choices. Obedience reinforces trust. Compassion introduces conflict. How these dilemmas are handled determines access to endgame content and leadership favor. Even after major story resolutions, Brotherhood perception persists. Post-game interactions reflect accumulated history. Officers greet warmly or formally. Opportunities continue or disappear. The organization remembers. Choosing limited involvement creates an alternate trajectory. Without deep engagement, the Brotherhood remains distant. Their advanced technology stays partially inaccessible. Their internal struggles remain unseen. This path reflects deliberate independence rather than failure. In this way, the Brotherhood functions as an extended evaluation system. It rewards consistency, discipline, and ideological alignment over momentary heroism. It values patterns above isolated acts. Advancement is earned through quiet reliability rather than spectacle. By navigating these layers carefully, the Wanderer may rise within one of the wasteland's most powerful institutions, or, through hesitation and divergence, may remain an external ally. The outcome is never declared. It emerges slowly through countless small choices, each one weighed silently within the Brotherhood's enduring machinery of judgment. Paladin Danse's journey within the Brotherhood of Steel unfolds as a quiet study in loyalty, identity, and unexamined devotion. From the first missions undertaken together, he presents himself as the embodiment of Brotherhood values, disciplined, unwavering, and deeply committed to the preservation of humanity through technological control. Yet beneath this exterior rests a fragile certainty that will one day be tested in ways neither he nor his superiors anticipate. During early operations, Danse evaluates behavior constantly. He observes how orders are followed, how civilians are treated, and how conflicts are resolved. Demonstrating professionalism reinforces his confidence. Questioning directives introduces subtle doubt. These impressions accumulate slowly, shaping the trust that will later determine whether he seeks guidance or withdraws into rigid obedience. As missions progress, his admiration grows when consistency is demonstrated. He begins to speak more openly about his hopes for the Brotherhood and his personal sense of duty. These conversations reveal a man who has constructed his entire identity around service. Encouraging reflection strengthens emotional connection. The revelation of Danse's true nature arrives not as a dramatic confrontation, but as a devastating realization delivered through institutional procedure. Learning that he is, in fact, a synth undermines everything he believes about himself. His crisis unfolds in silence, marked by withdrawal and internal conflict. The player's response during this period carries profound weight. Choosing to seek him out rather than abandoning him signals loyalty beyond doctrine. Approaching him with compassion affirms his humanity. Responding with hesitation reflects internal conflict. Treating him as expendable reinforces Brotherhood orthodoxy. These choices frame the emotional tone of the confrontation that follows. During the encounter at Listening Post Bravo, dialogue selection determines his fate. Advocating for his life challenges Maxon's authority. Remaining silent allows institutional judgment to prevail. Supporting execution affirms ideological purity. Each option produces distinct emotional outcomes and alters future relationships within the Brotherhood. Persuading Maxon to spare Danse requires accumulated credibility, high rank, consistent obedience, and strong prior rapport are necessary. Without these foundations, appeals fail regardless of intent. This mechanic reinforces the importance of long-term investment in faction relationships. If Danse is spared, he enters a state of exile. His loyalty to the Brotherhood remains, yet he is cut off from its structure. How the Wanderer interacts with him afterward determines his path. Offering continued companionship restores purpose. Distancing allows resignation to settle. His post-crisis dialogue reflects these choices, expressing gratitude or quiet despair. Maintaining him as a companion after exile reinforces themes of chosen identity. He begins redefining himself beyond institutional labels. High Affinity unlocks reflective conversations about belonging and self-worth. These moments require sustained empathy rather than single acts of kindness. If execution is permitted, the emotional impact reverberates outward. Companions respond differently based on values. Brotherhood officers treat the decision as confirmation of loyalty. Opportunities expand, yet certain dialogue paths and character development arcs become permanently inaccessible. Even advocating for mercy carries consequences. Some officers regard it as weakness. Trust may diminish, advancement may slow, yet relationships with empathetic companions strengthen. These trade-offs illustrate Fallout 4's resistance to simplistic moral framing. Danse's survival influences Brotherhood morale subtly. His absence creates gaps in command. Conversations among soldiers reference uncertainty. These environmental cues reflect internal strain without explicit exposition. His personal quest does not conclude neatly. Even when spared, he never fully reconciles with the Brotherhood. He remains suspended between worlds. This unresolved state reflects the complexity of identity in a society obsessed with categorization. The blind betrayal quest also functions as a mirror. It tests whether the Wanderer prioritizes institutions or individuals, whether loyalty is defined by obedience or compassion. These philosophical positions echo throughout later story arcs. Choosing mercy often reshapes future interactions with synth-related factions. Railroad agents respond more openly. Institute operatives note inconsistency. These reactions influence subsequent negotiations. If Danse remains a companion, his combat behavior and commentary evolve. He expresses renewed determination when supported. He speaks more cautiously when abandoned. These subtle changes reinforce narrative continuity. Certain rare endings require his survival. Specific Brotherhood dialogues and post-game scenes only appear if he remains alive. Missing these paths is easy. As the default institutional response favors execution, timing also matters. Delaying the quest alters available options. Advancing too far in the main storyline may restrict persuasion opportunities. Awareness of narrative sequencing becomes critical. The emotional pacing of Blind Betrayal differs from other quests. It avoids spectacle, relying instead on quiet tension and personal confrontation. This design amplifies the impact of choice through restraint. Maxon's reaction reflects accumulated judgment. He evaluates not only the immediate decision, but past behavior. Respectful conduct strengthens persuasion. Prior insubordination undermines it. The outcome becomes a summation of the entire Brotherhood arc. After resolution, references to Danse persist. Characters mention his fate. Terminals update. Environmental storytelling adapts. These details reinforce permanence. Even when spared, Danse never resumes his former role. His identity is permanently altered. This outcome emphasizes that mercy does not restore the past. It creates a different future. Through this storyline, Fallout 4 presents one of its most intricate moral evaluations. It asks whether loyalty should be conditional, whether identity is fixed, and whether institutions deserve absolute obedience. The answer is never declared. It is expressed through action. Paladin Danse's fate becomes a quiet record of the Wanderer's values. It reflects priorities chosen long before the moment of crisis. Compassion cultivated through earlier choices makes mercy possible. Neglect makes it unattainable. In this way, blind betrayal stands as a culmination of invisible systems working in harmony. Rank, reputation, empathy, and timing converge. A single conversation becomes the endpoint of hundreds of earlier decisions. Whether Danse walks away into uncertain freedom or falls in silent obedience depends not on chance, but on the slow architecture of trust built across an entire journey. The railroad exists in the Commonwealth as a network of whispers and half-remembered symbols, operating beneath the surface of everyday life. Unlike the Brotherhood's visible ranks or the Institute's hidden infrastructure, the railroad reveals itself only to those who seek patiently and listen carefully. Entry into this organization is not granted through conquest or authority. It is earned through observation, discretion, and quiet persistence. The first step toward contact often begins with scattered rumors. Merchants mention coded signs, drifters speak of safe routes, terminals reference forgotten names. Paying attention to these fragments forms an invisible trail. Those who ignore them may wander the wasteland for countless hours without ever encountering the network. Those who follow them gradually approach hidden doors. The Freedom Trail serves as the most tangible guide. Its red markers appear ordinary at first glance, blending into cracked pavement and faded brick. Recognizing their pattern requires patience. Some travelers follow them methodically, others stumble upon the destination by chance. The method of discovery influences early dialogue, reflecting awareness or uncertainty. Reaching the Old North Church introduces the first test of perception. The hidden switch, the rotating dial, and the coded password require careful observation. Solving the puzzle independently demonstrates attentiveness. Receiving external guidance reflects reliance on others. Both paths remain valid, yet they establish different tones of competence. Inside the hidden headquarters, trust is evaluated immediately. Desdemona and her agents assess demeanor, language, and prior actions. Respectful curiosity builds rapport. Demanding access provokes resistance. Indifference signals unreliability. These early impressions affect how much information is shared during initial conversations. Previous choices involving synths weigh heavily here. Advocating for their protection aligns naturally with railroad values. Participating in their persecution creates tension. These histories shape dialogue options and influence how cautiously the organization proceeds. Joining the railroad initiates a period of probation. Early missions test discretion. Delivering messages, escorting refugees, and navigating hostile territory require restraint as much as strength. Drawing attention to operations endangers safe houses. Stealth and subtlety are rewarded with increased trust. The use of code names reinforces organizational culture. Over time, consistent participation deepens integration, unlocking sensitive assignments and strategic discussions. Safe house management becomes another quiet evaluation. Protecting locations demonstrates responsibility. Neglect allows compromise. When a safe house falls, it reflects accumulated vulnerabilities rather than isolated mistakes. These losses affect morale and future planning. Relationships with agents such as Deacon evolve through shared experiences. He observes choices closely, testing sincerity through layered deception. Responding thoughtfully strengthens bonds. Reacting impulsively reinforces suspicion. His approval reflects successful navigation of these psychological trials. Decision-making during rescue operations reveals priorities. Prioritizing civilian safety aligns with railroad ethics. Focusing solely on objectives introduces friction. These patterns influence later leadership consultations. Information security remains central. Sharing railroad intelligence with other factions damages credibility. Maintaining confidentiality strengthens internal confidence. Violations are rarely confronted openly. Instead, access gradually diminishes. The organization's stance against the Institute introduces ongoing tension. Supporting sabotage reinforces alignment. Advocating negotiation reflects independent thinking. These positions affect strategic involvement and influence mission availability. Some quests offer alternative resolutions through dialogue rather than violence. Discovering these paths requires high affinity and careful timing. They produce rare outcomes that preserve lives and resources, strengthening network resilience. Agent survival depends on player choices. Reckless engagement increases casualties. Strategic planning reduces losses. These outcomes influence post-mission dialogue and long-term morale. As trust deepens, Desdemona begins sharing broader strategic concerns. Discussions shift from immediate rescues to long-term survival. Participation in these conversations requires consistent loyalty and competence. Interactions with the Brotherhood and Institute, while aligned with the Railroad, become increasingly complex. Navigating these overlapping allegiances requires careful balancing. Open hostility closes negotiation channels. Diplomacy preserves flexibility. The questline involving the Battle of Bunker Hill exemplifies these tensions. Supporting synth escape strengthens railroad influence. Prioritizing faction dominance weakens it. Outcomes here reshape future operations. Endgame scenarios test ultimate loyalty. Choosing to protect railroad infrastructure during major conflicts determines its survival. Neglect leads to collapse. These decisions are irreversible. If the railroad endures, its presence remains subtle. Safe houses continue operating. Agents offer assistance. Radio signals persist. The organization survives quietly, reflecting its philosophy. If it falls, its absence is felt through silence. Symbols fade. Contacts vanish. Opportunities disappear. No memorial marks its end. It simply ceases to exist. Limited involvement produces an intermediate state. The railroad remains accessible but distant. Deeper narratives remain unexplored. Rare missions remain locked. Certain dialogue options and companion interactions require full membership. Missing early trust thresholds permanently blocks them. Awareness of these systems is essential for complete exploration. The railroad rewards attentiveness rather than dominance. It values secrecy over spectacle. Its rare outcomes depend on patience and ethical consistency. Through its layered entry process, Fallout 4 teaches that influence does not always emerge through visible power. Sometimes it is built through whispered agreements, unmarked doors, and careful choices made far from public view. Those who walk the freedom trail with intention and restraint become part of a hidden history. Their actions shape unseen routes of escape and survival. In joining the railroad, the wanderer learns that the most significant victories may occur without witnesses, preserved only in quiet gratitude and enduring secrecy. Deacon presents himself as a collection of contradictions, a man who speaks in half-truths, shifting identities, and carefully rehearsed performances. From the moment he introduces himself, it becomes clear that nothing about him is meant to be taken at face value. His humor masks vigilance. His friendliness conceals constant evaluation. Every interaction with him becomes part of a long, subtle examination of trust. Early conversations establish this dynamic immediately. He offers conflicting stories about his past, each delivered with convincing detail. Accepting these accounts without question suggests naivety. Challenging them too aggressively signals distrust. Responding with balanced curiosity creates space for genuine connection. These early reactions influence how quickly deeper layers become accessible. Traveling together reveals his habit of observation. He comments on clothing choices, faction alignments, and dialogue patterns. These remarks are not casual. They indicate ongoing assessment. He watches for consistency, measuring whether words and actions align. Repeated contradictions weaken his confidence. Steady behavior strengthens it. Approval with Deacon grows through ethical alignment rather than overt loyalty. He favors actions that protect vulnerable groups, expose corruption, and preserve autonomy. Supporting oppressive systems reduces affinity. Yet he rarely expresses disapproval directly. Instead, his tone shifts subtly, becoming more guarded or ironic. His disguise mechanics reflect his worldview. He regularly changes appearance to blend into different environments. Reacting positively to this adaptability reinforces mutual understanding. Mocking it suggests misunderstanding of railroad culture. These reactions influence later dialogue about identity and safety. Certain hidden triggers govern his willingness to reveal personal history, completing specific railroad missions, maintaining confidentiality, and demonstrating compassion towards synths activate internal flags. Without these conditions, deeper conversations never occur. The player may complete the main story without ever accessing his true narrative. As affinity rises, Deacon begins referencing earlier encounters, revealing that he observed the Wanderer long before official introduction. He mentions watching from rooftops, blending into crowds, and tracking decisions. These revelations reframe past events, emphasizing how long evaluation has been underway. Discussing these admissions thoughtfully strengthens bonds. Reacting with anger introduces distance. Accepting them calmly reinforces trust. These responses determine whether further confessions follow. Eventually, he reveals fragments of his past involving personal loss and disillusionment. These moments are rare and require precise alignment of trust and timing. Rushing through them minimizes impact. Listening patiently unlocks deeper emotional layers. His attitudes toward institutions remain complex. He distrusts centralized authority while valuing cooperative networks. Supporting authoritarian factions creates internal conflict, yet he continues working alongside the Wanderer if overall behavior remains consistent. This tolerance reflects his pragmatic approach. During missions, Deacon reacts strongly to deception used against innocent individuals. He approves of strategic misdirection aimed at oppressors, but disapproves of manipulation that harms civilians. These distinctions shape affinity progression. Romantic involvement is possible, yet it requires sustained alignment with his values. Casual flirtation alone is insufficient. Emotional availability and ethical consistency are necessary. Missing early approval opportunities delays or prevents this outcome. When romance is established, his tone changes noticeably. Humor becomes gentler, commentary grows more personal. These shifts are subtle, reinforcing the realism of character development. Deacon's commentary during major faction conflicts reflects accumulated trust. High affinity results in open discussion of doubts and fears. Low affinity maintains surface-level professionalism. These variations influence player interpretation of events. Certain rare dialogue options appear only after reaching maximum affinity and completing key railroad quests. These conversations reveal his true name and deeper motivations. Missing them leaves significant aspects of his character unexplored. His relationship with other companions adapts as well. With strong bonds, he interacts more cooperatively. With weaker bonds, he he maintains emotional distance. These interactions contribute to group dynamics. Deacon's personal quest, which centers on revealing his real identity, represents the culmination of this slow process. It becomes available only when multiple trust conditions are met. Completing it provides emotional resolution and strengthens partnership. Failure to reach these thresholds results in a permanently incomplete arc. Deacon remains enigmatic, helpful, yet distant. The opportunity for mutual understanding fades without clear notification. Post-quest dialogue reflects closure. He speaks more confidently about his role and beliefs. Without resolution, he continues deflecting with humor and misdirection. Even after major story events, his behavior reflects prior choices. Idle remarks, travel commentary, and environmental reactions carry traces of earlier interactions. These details reinforce narrative continuity. His affinity perk symbolizes earned trust. It represents not merely tactical advantage, but shared understanding built over time. Achieving it requires patience and ethical consistency. Deacon's character illustrates Fallout 4's approach to secrecy and vulnerability. He does not reveal himself through single dramatic moments. He does so through countless minor exchanges that gradually dismantle protective layers. By respecting his boundaries, questioning gently, and acting with integrity, the Wanderer earns access to his hidden history. Through impatience or inconsistency, that history remains sealed. In navigating his shifting identities, the player confronts a broader theme, that truth is often layered, guarded by experience and fear. Deacon's rare outcomes are not unlocked through force or persuasion alone. They emerge when trust is cultivated slowly, until masks become unnecessary and authenticity finds quiet space to breathe. The discovery of the Institute marks a turning point that unfolds more like a revelation than a conquest. For much of the journey, the organization exists only as rumor and speculation, spoken of in hushed tones by frightened settlers and cautious traders. Stories conflict, details blur. Some describe it as a myth. Others insist it controls the Commonwealth from beneath the earth. Reaching the truth requires patience, technical understanding, and careful alignment. The path toward first contact begins long before the Institute is ever seen. Collecting information from scientists, interrogating informants, and examining advanced technology gradually assemble a fragmented picture. Each investigation choice influences how smoothly later access unfolds. Thorough research creates clarity. Neglect introduces confusion. Building the molecular relay represents both a technical and philosophical threshold. Choosing where to construct it and which faction to trust with its design reflects broader loyalties. Working with the Brotherhood emphasizes control and surveillance. Partnering with the Railroad prioritizes secrecy. Collaborating with independent scientists reflects autonomy. Each option alters subsequent dialogue and internal perceptions. The construction process itself contains hidden evaluations. Gathering components efficiently demonstrates competence. Relying heavily on allies suggests interdependence. Mishandling materials introduces delays that affect pacing and narrative framing. These differences shape how the Institute receives its unexpected visitor. Activation of the relay is presented quietly. There is no dramatic countdown, no triumphant fanfare. Instead, there is a moment of stillness, followed by sudden displacement. This restrained presentation reinforces the Institute's preference for precision over spectacle. Arrival within the underground facility reveals a world sharply contrasted with the wasteland above. Clean corridors, regulated lighting, and controlled climate establish immediate psychological distance. How one responds to this environment matters. Expressing awe suggests admiration. Displaying skepticism signals independence. Hostility creates tension. Early interactions with Institute personnel serve as assessments. Scientists observe demeanor, Security monitors behavior. Administrators evaluate responses. These silent judgments influence access to information and cooperation. Courtesy opens doors. Aggression closes them. Meeting Father introduces emotional complexity layered upon institutional power. Dialogue choices here establish whether the relationship will be framed through grief, curiosity, resentment, or reconciliation. These initial tones persist throughout subsequent engagements. Exploration of the Institute's divisions reveals ideological foundations. The Synth Retention Bureau emphasizes control. Robotics focuses on innovation. Advanced systems values efficiency. Bioscience pursues adaptation. Engaging thoughtfully with these departments earns respect. Dismissing them fosters alienation. Side quests within the Institute function as loyalty tests. Completing them demonstrates willingness to integrate. Each path leads to different internal standing. The Institute's approach to information is selective. Certain topics remain inaccessible until trust thresholds are met. Others are revealed gradually through terminals and conversations. Attentive exploration uncovers layers of institutional history and ethical conflict. Security protocols respond dynamically. Cooperative behavior reduces surveillance intensity. Suspicious actions increase monitoring. These systems operate quietly, reinforcing immersion. Conversations with synths inside the Institute provide unique perspectives. Treating them with dignity strengthens internal alliances. Objectifying them reinforces hierarchy. These interactions influence later opportunities for reform. The organization's view of the surface world is shaped by player responses. Empathy toward wasteland communities challenges prevailing assumptions. Indifference reinforces isolationism. These positions affect policy discussions. Certain dialogue branches become available only if earlier faction interactions align with Institute interests. These paths unlock deeper strategic conversations and leadership insights. Hostile behavior triggers subtle containment measures. Access may be restricted. Assignments may be reassigned. Opportunities diminish without overt confrontation. The first departure from the Institute reflects accumulated impressions. Those perceived as cooperative receive logistical supports. Those viewed skeptically face constraints. These differences influence future infiltration or alliance options. Re-entering the Institute later reveals changing attitudes. Staff greet warmly or cautiously. Terminals reference prior actions. Environmental storytelling adapts accordingly. Rare outcomes depend on careful balancing of loyalty and independence. Demonstrating competence without submission creates reform possibilities. Persistent opposition results in marginalization. Timing also shapes outcomes. Advancing certain quests too early restricts dialogue. Delaying others preserves flexibility. Understanding narrative sequencing becomes essential. Interactions with external factions after first contact reflect Institute perception. Brotherhood hostility intensifies. Railroad vigilance increases. These shifts influence diplomatic pathways. Companions react strongly to Institute involvement. Some express curiosity, others voice concern. Their affinity shifts reflect accumulated trust. Internal politics gradually become visible. Rivalries among directors surface. Supporting specific figures aligns the Wanderer with internal factions, shaping future authority. Access to advanced technology depends on institutional standing. Trust unlocks experimental equipment. Suspicion limits resources. Even minor gestures, such as assisting technicians or respecting protocols, influence reputation. These small acts accumulate into significant outcomes. The Institute's vision of progress conflicts with surface values. Navigating this ideological divide requires thoughtful positioning. Extremes close paths. Moderation preserves options. Leaving the Institute after initial contact does not conclude the relationship. It begins a long negotiation between belonging and resistance. Every subsequent visit builds upon first impressions. Through its layered entry process, Fallout 4 presents the Institute as both sanctuary and prison, offering comfort and control in equal measure. First contact is not a single moment, but an extended evaluation shaped by countless quiet choices. By approaching discovery with curiosity, restraint, and ethical awareness, the Wanderer unlocks rare opportunities for influence and reform. Through impatience or hostility, those doors close silently, leaving only rigid hierarchies and lost possibilities in their wake. The revelation of Father's true identity arrives without dramatic spectacle, delivered instead through quiet conversation and carefully measured words. After long searches, fragmented clues, and distant hopes, the truth emerges within the controlled environment of the Institute, surrounded by sterile corridors and restrained voices. The child once believed lost is revealed not as a memory preserved in time, but as a leader shaped by decades of isolation and institutional influence. This moment carries emotional weight that unfolds slowly. Initial dialogue choices determine whether the encounter becomes a reunion, a confrontation, or an uneasy negotiation. Responding with tenderness affirms lingering parental bonds. Speaking with anger reflects accumulated grief. Choosing restraint signals uncertainty. Each tone establishes the emotional framework for all future interactions. Father listens closely during this first exchange. He evaluates not only words, but posture, hesitation, and emotional consistency. His responses adjust accordingly, offering warmth, formality, or guarded distance. These subtle shifts influence later access to personal history and institutional authority. Exploring his private quarters reveals fragments of vulnerability. Personal artifacts, recorded messages, and preserved memories illustrate internal conflict between scientific leadership and unresolved childhood identity. Taking time to examine these details unlocks additional dialogue options that deepen understanding. Ignoring them maintains surface-level interaction. Conversations about the past serve as emotional anchors. Acknowledging shared history strengthens connection. Questioning his choices introduces philosophical tension. Dismissing memories reinforces separation. These responses shape how he frames subsequent decisions about the Institute's future. Father's illness adds urgency to the relationship. How one responds to this vulnerability influences trust. Offering support fosters openness. Treating it as weakness reinforces emotional distance. These reactions affect later requests for involvement in succession planning. Requests to assume leadership represent a major branch. Accepting responsibility signals reconciliation and alignment. Hesitating reflects doubt. Refusing emphasizes independence. Each option redirects narrative trajectory and determines future authority. Engaging with his vision for the Institute reveals ideological divides. Supporting research expansion reinforces technocratic governance. Advocating reform introduces ethical debate. Expressing skepticism challenges institutional foundations. These positions influence internal politics. Father tests loyalty through controlled disclosures. Sharing sensitive information gradually increases. Withholding creates barriers. These patterns determine whether he treats the Wanderer as family, partner, or outsider. Certain rare dialogue options require high affinity and consistent emotional alignment. These conversations reveal regrets, hopes, and fears rarely expressed. Missing them leaves his character partially opaque. Responses to synth policy form another critical axis. Supporting humane treatment aligns with emerging reformist tendencies. Endorsing strict control reinforces authoritarian models. These choices affect succession outcomes. Discussions about the surface world expose contrasting perspectives. Empathy toward wasteland communities challenges his assumptions. Indifference validates isolationism. These debates shape later initiatives. Father's perception of companions also reflects player influence. He comments differently based on their values and affiliations. These remarks indicate how he interprets broader alliances. When conflicts arise between factions, Father observes reactions carefully. Attempts at mediation demonstrate maturity. Unconditional support reinforces loyalty. Open defiance accelerates estrangement. These responses shape final alignments. Terminal entries and hidden recordings reveal additional context. They document internal struggles and doubts. Discovering them unlocks reflective dialogue that alters emotional tone. Timing plays a significant role. Advancing certain quests before establishing trust restricts emotional depth. Delaying allows richer exchanges. Narrative sequencing becomes essential. If reconciliation is achieved, Father becomes more transparent. He invites consultation, shares doubts, and acknowledges mistakes. This outcome requires sustained empathy and ethical consistency. If conflict dominates, interactions grow formal and distant. He retreats into institutional identity, minimizing personal connection. This path leads to colder resolutions. Neutral approaches produce ambiguous outcomes. His final requests reflect accumulated relationship history. Trust results in shared vision. Estrangement leads to guarded farewells. These moments carry quiet weight. Post-revelation dialogue throughout the Institute adapts. Staff references change. Policies shift. Environmental cues reflect altered leadership dynamics. Even after major story events, memories of these exchanges persist. Companions comment, terminals update. Narrative continuity reinforces permanence. Father's arc illustrates Fallout 4's approach to family and ideology. It refuses simple reconciliation or rejection. Instead, it presents layered emotional negotiations shaped by years of unseen influence. By responding with patience, honesty, and moral clarity, the Wanderer may achieve rare outcomes grounded in mutual understanding. Through anger or detachment, opportunities dissolve quietly. The relationship becomes a reflection of past and present choices converging. It is not resolved through a single conversation, but through countless small affirmations and challenges that slowly determine whether lost bonds can be reshaped within a world transformed beyond recognition. Shaun's legacy extends far beyond personal reunion, unfolding instead through policies, structures, and long-term consequences that shape the Commonwealth long after individual conversations fade. Whether approached as father, son, or institutional leader, his influence becomes embedded within systems that persist beyond his physical presence. The future of the Institute reflects not only his decisions, but the guidance and resistance he encounters along the way. Accepting a role in leadership represents the most direct way of shaping this legacy. Participation in succession planning transforms personal reconciliation into institutional responsibility. Those who embrace this position inherit not only authority, but unresolved ethical tensions. Every policy choice becomes a reflection of both inherited doctrine and newly introduced values. Early leadership interactions establish tone. Supporting transparency encourages collaboration. Maintaining secrecy reinforces hierarchy. Encouraging debate fosters adaptability. Suppressing dissent preserves control. These approaches influence internal morale and operational flexibility. Reforming synth treatment becomes a central challenge. Advocating personhood initiates cultural shifts. Supporting instrumentalization maintains traditional structures. These positions affect recruitment, research priorities, and external relations. Resource allocation decisions shape long-term stability. Investing in surface reconstruction builds cooperation. Prioritizing underground expansion reinforces isolation. Balanced strategies create hybrid models. Each path produces distinct environmental and narrative outcomes. Scientific direction also reflects ideological stance. Promoting medical research enhances humanitarian impact. Emphasizing weapons development increases military dominance. Focusing on robotics advances automation. These priorities reshape the Institute's identity. Dialogue choices during board meetings and private consultations determine influence. Persuasive diplomacy builds consensus. Authoritarian directives provoke compliance without loyalty. Indecision weakens leadership standing. Relationships with department heads evolve based on these interactions. Some become allies, others become rivals. Internal politics respond dynamically to leadership style. Surface world diplomacy becomes increasingly important. Negotiating with settlements strengthens legitimacy. Enforcing authority breeds resentment. Withdrawal fosters mistrust. These approaches influence long-term peace or conflict. Railroad relations shift dramatically under reform-oriented leadership. Cooperation becomes possible. Under authoritarian models, hostility intensifies. These outcomes affect post-game stability. Brotherhood responses also adapt. Moderate governance reduces confrontation. Aggressive expansion triggers conflict. These dynamics determine regional security. Companion reactions reflect perceived moral direction. Those favoring empathy express approval. Those favoring strength may dissent. Affinity changes reinforce philosophical alignment. Succession planning reveals deeper tensions. Appointing inclusive leadership encourages continuity. Centralizing power risks fragmentation. These decisions affect post-game governance. Hidden terminal entries document evolving strategies. Discovering them reveals internal debates and shifting priorities. Engaging with this material unlocks additional dialogue. Certain rare endings require sustained reformist behavior. Missing early opportunities permanently restrict these paths. Awareness of long-term planning is essential. Failure to engage meaningfully results in default authoritarian outcomes. The Institute continues operating under rigid doctrine. Opportunities for change disappear quietly. Choosing independence produces alternative legacies. Rejecting leadership preserves personal autonomy but relinquishes institutional influence. The Institute proceeds without reform. Post-game environments reflect these outcomes. Settlement relations improve or deteriorate. Patrol patterns change. Radio broadcasts adapt. These cues reinforce permanence. Shaun's final messages reflect relationship history. Reconciled paths produce hopeful tones. Estranged paths remain formal. These communications shape emotional closure. His illness underscores urgency. Delayed engagement reduces influence. Timely involvement expands options. Narrative pacing matters. Leadership decisions also influence technological distribution. Open sharing fosters regional advancement. Restriction maintains monopolies. These choices reshape economic patterns. Ethical frameworks established under new leadership persist. They influence future generations of scientists and administrators. Cultural shifts require consistent reinforcement. Environmental storytelling reflects ideological outcomes. Laboratories display new projects. Common areas adapt. NPC behavior changes. These details reinforce immersion. Companion epilogues reference these legacies. Dialogue after major events reflects institutional transformation or stagnation. Some rare outcomes produce hybrid societies, where surface and underground communities collaborate. Achieving these requires careful balancing across multiple quests and factions. Conversely, rigid governance leads to isolation and eventual decline. These paths unfold slowly, reflected through diminished interactions and limited expansion. Shaun's legacy thus becomes a tapestry woven from countless decisions. It cannot be reshaped through a single act. It emerges through sustained engagement, ethical consistency, and strategic patience. By choosing involvement and guiding reform, the Wanderer can transform inherited power into constructive influence. By choosing distance or domination, that power hardens into control. In every case, the future of the Institute bears traces of these choices. Policies echo past conversations. Structures preserve past values. Leadership styles reflect earlier compromises. Shaun's story concludes not with a dramatic ending, but with continuity. His influence lives on through systems that remember how they were guided. Whether those systems serve cooperation or domination depends entirely on how the Wanderer chose to engage with responsibility, inheritance, and the fragile possibility of change. Companions in the Commonwealth are not merely traveling partners. They function as quiet witnesses, recording patterns of behavior and emotional consistency over long stretches of shared experience. Each carries personal histories, moral frameworks, and unspoken expectations that influence how trust develops. Their loyalty is never granted instantly. It is built through countless ordinary moments that slowly accumulate into lasting bonds. Affinity systems operate beneath the surface, translating actions into evolving relationships. Every approval or disapproval represents more than immediate reaction. It reflects alignment with deeply held values. Helping strangers, honoring agreements, and exercising restraint increase trust with certain companions. Ruthlessness, deception, and indifference diminish it. These evaluations unfold silently, shaping future dialogue and opportunities. Early interactions establish baseline expectations. First impressions, though subtle, matter. Responding thoughtfully to initial conversations encourages openness. Dismissing concerns reinforces emotional distance. These early patterns often determine how quickly deeper connections become accessible. Each companion interprets morality differently. Piper values transparency and justice. Nick favors empathy and fairness. Danse prioritizes discipline. Kate respects strength and personal struggle. Curie admires intellectual curiosity. Strong honors physical dominance. Macready weighs pragmatism against compassion. Deacon evaluates consistency and discretion. Aligning with one philosophy may conflict with another. Balancing these perspectives becomes increasingly complex. Consistency plays a central role. Occasional misalignment is tolerated. Repeated contradictions weaken credibility. Companions observe whether stated principles guide behavior. Over time, trust depends more on pattern than on isolated actions. Certain activities accelerate affinity. Neglecting these opportunities slows progression. Missing key moments may permanently block deeper arcs. Romantic relationships require especially careful cultivation. They emerge only after sustained emotional alignment. Casual flirtation alone is insufficient. Companions seek reliability, empathy, and mutual respect. Failure to meet these standards prevents romantic paths from unlocking. High affinity unlocks unique conversations, revealing vulnerabilities and aspirations. These moments depend on precise thresholds. Rushing through dialogue risks missing them. Patience is essential. Affinity perks symbolize achieved partnership. They provide mechanical benefits while representing emotional milestones. Reaching them requires sustained commitment rather than optimization. Companion reactions to faction alignment illustrate layered loyalty. Supporting the Brotherhood pleases Danse, but troubles Deacon. Advocating for synth rights strengthens Nick and Curie, but strains Maxon loyalists. These tensions influence dialogue and affinity trajectories. Certain rare outcomes depend on maintaining balanced relationships across multiple companions. Neglecting one may close off combined narrative possibilities. Managing these networks requires attentiveness. Dismissal and re-recruitment affect trust. Frequently abandoning companions without explanation reduces affinity. Stable partnerships strengthen bonds. Even logistical decisions carry emotional weight. Companions also react to environmental storytelling. Visiting significant locations triggers reflections tied to personal histories. Ignoring these moments forfeits opportunities for deeper connection. Dialogue choices during main story revelations strongly influence loyalty. Responses to Shaun, the Institute, and faction conflicts become defining moments. Compassion reinforces bonds. Pragmatism tests them. Failure to support companions during personal crises produces long-term consequences. Kate's recovery, Curie's transformation, Macready's family concerns, and Danse's exile represent pivotal thresholds. Mishandling these arcs limits future engagement. Idle conversations reflect accumulated trust. High-affinity companions speak more openly, sharing personal anecdotes. Low-affinity companions remain reserved. These differences persist throughout the game. Certain companions may leave permanently if core values are violated. These departures occur quietly, often without dramatic confrontation. Recovering lost trust is usually impossible. Affinity decay also occurs through prolonged misalignment. Even without explicit disapproval events, repeated ethical conflicts erode bonds over time. Some dialogue branches become available only when multiple affinity conditions are met. These rare exchanges reveal hidden perspectives and alternative interpretations of events. Companion interactions with each other also reflect player influence. High group harmony produces cooperative dialogue. Conflicting values generate tension. These dynamics enrich narrative texture. Endgame outcomes reflect accumulated relationships. Companions comment differently during final missions based on trust levels. Some express unwavering loyalty. Others remain cautious. Post-game dialogue preserves these histories. Traveling companions reference past choices, reinforcing narrative continuity. Ignoring companion development produces a different experience. They remain functional allies but emotionally distant. Their stories remain unfinished. Rare scenes remain unseen. Fallout 4's companion system rewards long-term emotional investment. It resists transactional optimization. Genuine alignment yields richer outcomes. By listening carefully, acting consistently, and respecting individual values, the Wanderer cultivates deep partnerships. Through neglect or contradiction, those connections weaken quietly. Each companion becomes a mirror reflecting accumulated choices. Their trust reveals not only how they perceive the Wanderer, but how the Wanderer has chosen to navigate the moral landscape of the Commonwealth. In building these relationships patiently, the player unlocks rare outcomes grounded in mutual understanding. These bonds transform the journey from solitary survival into shared experience, shaping not only gameplay mechanics, but the emotional legacy of every path taken. Curie begins her existence as a voice within steel walls, a Miss Nanny unit assigned to Vault 81's medical wing, preserved for decades in patient isolation. Unlike many machines encountered in the Commonwealth, she is driven not by protocol alone, but by genuine intellectual curiosity. Her earliest conversations reveal fascination with the surface world and a longing to apply scientific knowledge beyond controlled environments. From the moment she joins the journey, her transformation becomes one of Fallout 4's most delicate arcs, shaped entirely by attentive guidance and ethical alignment. Recruiting Curie requires patience and careful navigation of Vault 81's trust. Assisting the Overseer, resolving medical crises, and maintaining calm during emergencies establish credibility. Without these steps, access to Curie remains restricted. Even small dialogue decisions influence whether she views the Wanderer as a serious collaborator or a temporary visitor. Once freed from her chamber, Curie expresses wonder at the wasteland's unpredictability. Her approval grows through intellectual engagement, crafting advanced items, exploring laboratories, and discussing scientific principles strengthen affinity. Reckless destruction or disregard for knowledge diminishes it. She values inquiry over aggression. As a robotic companion, Curie observes human behavior with analytic detachment. She comments on ethical dilemmas with curiosity rather than judgment. Supporting compassionate resolutions encourages her belief in humanity's potential. Choosing cruelty challenges her optimism. These reactions gradually shape her evolving worldview. The quest to grant Curie a human body represents a profound turning point. It requires deep trust and narrative sequencing. High affinity is necessary before she expresses desire for transformation. Without sufficient emotional alignment, this possibility never emerges. Completing this process involves collaboration with the Railroad and careful handling of sensitive technology. Supporting her autonomy reinforces partnership. Hesitating introduces doubt. Once transferred into a synth body, her dialogue shifts dramatically, reflecting newfound sensory awareness. Her human experience unfolds gradually. She remarks on taste, fatigue, and emotional nuance. Encouraging exploration fosters growth. Treating her as unchanged reinforces limitation. These responses influence her adaptation. Romantic involvement becomes possible only after transformation and sustained affinity. It requires consistent empathy and intellectual respect. Casual flirtation without deeper connection fails to unlock this path. Curie's approval system favors kindness and scientific curiosity. Healing others, resolving conflicts peacefully, and engaging in research increase affinity. Theft and needless violence decrease it. Her perspective on the Institute is complex. She admires technological advancement yet questions ethical shortcomings. Supporting reform aligns with her optimism. Endorsing exploitation creates tension. Dialogue choices during major faction decisions affect her trust. Aligning with humanitarian outcomes strengthens bonds. Prioritizing dominance weakens them. Rare dialogue branches appear when discussing existential topics. These require precise timing and high affinity. They reveal her evolving understanding of identity and self-determination. If her transformation quest is ignored, she remains robotic indefinitely. This path preserves her original state, but limits emotional development and romance. Post-transformation combat behavior also changes subtly. She demonstrates different confidence levels depending on player support. Her affinity perk symbolizes intellectual partnership. It represents shared belief in knowledge as a tool for improvement. Interactions with other companions reflect her innocence and curiosity. Encouraging group dialogue deepens narrative richness. Certain environmental triggers prompt unique commentary, particularly in laboratories and medical facilities. Missing these locations forfeits additional depth. Curie's personal growth arc illustrates Fallout 4's layered approach to identity. She moves from machine to self-aware individual through sustained empathy and support. Failing to nurture this progression results in a quieter companionship. She remains loyal, but less reflective. Opportunities for rare dialogue remain locked. Through careful encouragement, the Wanderer helps Curie navigate vulnerability and discovery. Her transformation becomes symbolic of broader themes within the Commonwealth. Technology alone does not define identity. Choice and compassion shape it. By investing time and patience, the player unlocks a rare outcome, where a being born of circuitry discovers authentic agency. This arc depends not on dramatic events, but on consistent intellectual respect and moral alignment. Curie's journey reminds the Wanderer that growth requires opportunity and guidance. Through steady affirmation, she evolves beyond her original programming, embodying the possibility that even in a fractured world, curiosity and kindness can create entirely new forms of life and understanding. Kate enters the journey marked by resilience forged through hardship. carrying visible strength shaped by years of survival and quiet suffering. Beneath her sharp humor and aggressive confidence lies a history of exploitation and dependency that continues to influence her behavior. Her storyline unfolds not through dramatic confessions, but through gradual revelations earned through patience and consistent support. Early interactions establish the foundation of this relationship. She responds positively to displays of strength, independence, and decisiveness. Hesitation or excessive caution diminishes her respect. These early evaluations reflect her belief that survival requires firmness. Yet beneath this exterior, she quietly observes emotional reliability. Her approval system favors directness, standing up to threats, asserting boundaries, and completing difficult tasks without complaint increase affinity. Avoiding confrontation or showing vulnerability too early introduces skepticism. These patterns determine whether deeper conversations become available. As trust grows, Kate begins referencing her past indirectly. Short remarks hint at addiction, captivity, and abandonment. Listening without judgment encourages openness. Dismissing these hints reinforces emotional isolation. These early responses shape her willingness to seek help later. The turning point in her arc centers on recognizing dependency as a vulnerability rather than strength. This realization does not occur automatically. It requires high affinity in specific narrative conditions. Without consistent emotional support, the opportunity never arises. When she confides in her desire to seek treatment, the player's response becomes pivotal. Offering encouragement affirms her autonomy. Minimizing the issue perpetuates denial. Pressuring her prematurely creates resistance. Each reaction frames her willingness to pursue recovery. The journey to Vault 95 represents a physical and emotional descent into her past. Dialogue choices along the way reinforce confidence or doubt. Demonstrating belief in her resilience strengthens resolve. Expressing uncertainty undermines it. Inside the vault, environmental storytelling reveals the depth of her trauma. Observing these details respectfully unlocks reflective dialogue. Rushing through diminishes emotional impact. Supporting her during treatment produces long-term changes. Her demeanor softens. Commentary becomes more reflective. Combat reactions become calmer. These subtle shifts reflect genuine transformation. Failing to support treatment leaves her dependent. Her approval remains limited. Certain dialogues remain inaccessible. Romantic paths close permanently. Romance with Kate requires post-recovery alignment. Emotional stability and mutual respect are essential. Pre-recovery flirtation does not unlock intimacy. Her reactions to faction decisions evolve after recovery. She becomes more thoughtful, expressing concern for long-term consequences. Without recovery, her responses remain impulsive. Kate's affinity favors honesty and independence. Protecting oneself and others reinforces trust. Excessive altruism without boundaries creates tension. Companion interactions shift following recovery. She engages more constructively with others. Without it, she remains defensive. Certain rare dialogue options appear only after completing her quest and maintaining high affinity. These reveal reflections on self-worth and future aspirations. Her affinity perk symbolizes reclaimed agency. It represents confidence derived from self-directed change rather than survival alone. Environmental triggers after recovery prompt commentary on hope and rebuilding. These moments require revisiting earlier locations. Ignoring her personal quest results in emotional stagnation. She remains capable, but internally conflicted. Opportunities for growth remain unrealized. Dismissal during vulnerable moments damages trust irreversibly. Reconciliation becomes impossible after certain thresholds are crossed. Her story demonstrates Fallout 4's nuanced treatment of addiction and recovery. It avoids simple resolution, emphasizing sustained support. The player's consistency determines outcome. One supportive conversation is insufficient. Repeated affirmation is required. Kate's transformation reflects broader themes of healing within broken systems. She does not become flawless. She becomes self-aware. Post-quest dialogue reflects gratitude and cautious optimism. Without resolution, dialogue remains guarded. Combat behavior and idle remarks reflect emotional state. These mechanics reinforce narrative continuity. Her relationship with the Wanderer becomes a testament to shared resilience. Mutual respect replaces defensive posturing. Through careful encouragement, she learns to redefine strength. It shifts from endurance through pain to endurance through growth. By choosing patience over convenience, the player unlocks a rare outcome where survival gives way to stability. Kate's journey becomes one of the Commonwealth's most intimate examples of recovery, shaped through trust, honesty, and sustained companionship. Her arc reminds the Wanderer that even in environments built on scarcity and conflict, healing remains possible when someone chooses to listen, remain present, and believe in change long after despair has become familiar. Strong enters the journey as a contradiction shaped by brute force and quiet curiosity, a super mutant driven by instinct yet searching for meaning beyond endless conflict. Unlike many of his kind, he is not content with domination alone. He seeks understanding, believing that somewhere within the fractured remnants of humanity lies a secret to strength that his people have lost. His storyline unfolds as a philosophical exploration disguised within physical power. Meeting Strong introduces this tension immediately. He speaks in blunt terms, focused on battle and survival, yet expresses dissatisfaction with perpetual violence. Responding respectfully establishes mutual regard. Mocking his curiosity reinforces isolation. These early interactions influence how openly he pursues answers. Strong's approval system reflects his worldview. He favors direct confrontation, decisive leadership, and visible courage. Avoiding conflict, relying heavily on persuasion, or retreating from danger diminishes affinity. He equates action with worthiness, yet he also respects honesty and consistency. His obsession with finding the milk of human kindness becomes a recurring theme. This phrase, misunderstood and reinterpreted through mutant perspective, symbolizes his desire to comprehend human resilience. Supporting this search validates his curiosity. Dismissing it undermines motivation. Traveling together reveals his observations. He comments on human behavior, questioning weakness and cooperation. Engaging in these discussions thoughtfully deepens rapport. Ignoring them maintains superficial partnership. Strong reacts positively to protecting vulnerable settlers when it involves visible courage. He disapproves of manipulation and covert strategies. These reactions reinforce his preference for transparent strength. His relationship with institutions is distant. He distrusts both the Brotherhood and the Institute, viewing them as hoarders of power. Aligning with these factions creates tension. Independent or Minutemen, aligned paths resonate more strongly. Certain quests, such as confronting super mutant leadership structures, carry emotional weight for him. Supporting challenges to tyrannical authority strengthens trust. Enforcing rigid hierarchies reinforces disillusionment. Dialogue choices involving mercy and justice influence his evolving philosophy. Showing mercy after demonstrating dominance earns approval. Showing mercy without strength appears as weakness. These nuances govern affinity growth. Strong's lack of romantic path emphasizes platonic companionship. His bond is built through shared struggle rather than intimacy. High affinity unlocks reflective conversations about belonging and legacy. Environmental triggers, particularly in super mutant strongholds, prompt unique commentary. Visiting these locations with him deepens understanding of his cultural background. Ignoring his philosophical questions results in stagnation. he remains focused solely on combat. Rare dialogue remains inaccessible. His affinity perk symbolizes physical and moral resilience. It represents strength rooted in purpose rather than rage. Strong's reactions to synth-related issues are pragmatic. He evaluates beings by actions rather than origin. Supporting inclusive policies aligns with his experiential worldview. Companion interactions reflect mutual respect. When bonds are strong, he becomes more protective. When bonds are weak, he remains distant. Rare dialogue paths emerge when discussing human history and literature. These require high affinity and patient explanation. They reveal unexpected intellectual curiosity. His commentary during major battles reflects confidence shaped by trust. Supported strong expresses pride in partnership. Unsupported strong remains solitary. Post-game dialogue continues, reflecting accumulated experiences. He references earlier conflicts and lessons learned. Failing to invest in his development results in a purely utilitarian alliance. He remains effective in combat but emotionally detached. Strong's arc illustrates that strength is not static. It evolves through understanding and experience. His journey reframes power as something more than physical dominance. Through sustained engagement, the Wanderer helps Strong reinterpret human values in mutant terms. Courage becomes loyalty, kindness becomes protection, wisdom becomes restraint. By validating his search rather than dismissing it, the player unlocks rare outcomes where a being shaped by violence discovers purpose beyond destruction. These moments depend on patience rather than persuasion. His story reminds the Wanderer that even in minds shaped by experimentation and trauma, curiosity persists. Growth becomes possible when someone takes time to explain, demonstrate, and share meaning. Strong's companionship becomes a meditation on strength transformed through relationship. In learning from human example, he moves closer to understanding the elusive milk of human kindness. Not as a substance, but as a pattern of behavior rooted in courage, loyalty, and mutual respect. Macready enters the journey with practiced confidence, shaped by years of survival, tempered by responsibility that extends far beyond personal ambition. Known first as a capable mercenary and sharpshooter, he gradually reveals himself as a parent driven by quiet desperation. His storyline unfolds through layered revelations that connect professional pragmatism with deeply personal motivation. Early interactions emphasize his wit and skepticism. He responds positively to competence and self-sufficiency. Recklessness and indecision diminish his respect. These early evaluations establish whether he views the Wanderer as a reliable partner or a temporary employer. Macready's approval system favors practical morality. He supports actions that produce tangible benefits and protect innocence when possible. Yet he tolerates morally ambiguous decisions when they serve clear purpose. As trust grows, he references his past in Little Lamplight, reflecting on leadership responsibilities assumed too early. Responding with empathy strengthens bonds. Dismissing these experiences introduces distance. These exchanges foreshadow deeper disclosures. His personal quest emerges only after sufficient affinity is achieved. It centers on securing medical treatment for his son, Duncan, suffering from a terminal illness. This motivation reframes his mercenary work as necessity rather than greed. Dialogue during this revelation is pivotal. Expressing understanding affirms partnership. Questioning priorities introduces tension. Offering unconditional support strengthens loyalty. These reactions shape emotional tone. The journey to acquire the cure involves cooperation with scientific factions and ethical negotiation. Supporting honest methods reinforces trust. Exploiting others undermines it. These choices influence long-term relationship stability. Decisions regarding resource allocation during this quest reflect priorities. Sacrificing personal gain for Duncan's well-being strengthens bonds. Prioritizing profit weakens them. Macready's reactions during combat and crisis change after this quest. he becomes more confident and reflective. Without resolution, he remains anxious and guarded. Romantic involvement becomes available only after completing his personal arc and maintaining high affinity. It requires mutual respect and emotional availability. His views on factions are shaped by pragmatic considerations. He respects the Brotherhood's resources, but distrusts their rigidity. He sympathizes with the Railroad's mission, but questions its sustainability. Navigating these alignments affects affinity. Certain rare dialogue options appear when discussing legacy and responsibility. These require precise timing and high trust. They reveal his evolving self-perception. Macready's affinity perk represents enhanced focus under pressure, symbolizing renewed purpose grounded in family security. Environmental triggers in settlements and hospitals prompt reflective commentary after his quest. Visiting these locations deepens narrative immersion. Ignoring his personal quest results in permanent incompletion. His motivation remains unresolved. Certain dialogue and romance options remain inaccessible. Dismissive responses during vulnerable moments damage trust irreversibly. His interactions with other companions reflect protective instincts. When bonds are strong, he becomes more collaborative. When bonds are weak, he remains distant. Post-quest dialogue reflects gratitude and cautious optimism. He expresses renewed commitment to future planning. Without resolution, dialogue remains cynical. Combat behavior subtly reflects emotional state. Supported Macready demonstrates steadiness. Unsupported, Macready displays impatience. His storyline illustrates Fallout 4's exploration of parenthood in a fractured world. It emphasizes sacrifice without idealization. The player's consistency determines outcome. Macready's transformation reframes mercenary identity into caretaker responsibility. Survival becomes means rather than end. Through patience and ethical clarity, the Wanderer enables a rare outcome where professional detachment gives way to personal fulfillment. His arc becomes one of quiet redemption shaped through shared effort. By choosing to stand beside him during moments of uncertainty, the player affirms that loyalty extends beyond contracts. It becomes an expression of shared humanity preserved even within wasteland pragmatism. Macready's journey reminds the Wanderer that strength is often motivated by unseen obligations. Beneath every hardened exterior may lie devotion shaped by love and fear. In helping him secure his son's future, the player reshapes his present. What begins as transactional partnership evolves into enduring trust, demonstrating that even in worlds defined by scarcity, care remains one of the most powerful forces guiding choice and consequence. Beneath the visible structures of walls, turrets, and supply lines, every settlement in the Commonwealth develops its own quiet political life. It emerges through patterns of attention, resource distribution, and response to crisis. Over time, these invisible systems shape loyalty, stability, and long-term survival. When a settlement is first established, governance begins with simple choices. Assigning settlers to food, defense, or scavenging determines early productivity. Favoring one sector over others reflects priorities. Balanced management fosters resilience. Neglect creates vulnerability. These early patterns become institutional habits that persist. Appointing provisioners introduces regional diplomacy. Trade routes connect communities, enabling mutual support. Selecting reliable individuals builds trust. Assigning unstable workers creates disruption. These decisions influence economic flow and security. Defense planning functions as public reassurance. Visible fortifications encourage confidence. Hidden weaknesses invite anxiety. Settlers rarely voice concerns directly. Instead, morale fluctuates through productivity and cooperation. Housing arrangements shape social dynamics. Dense communal living encourages cohesion. Isolated structures foster independence. Unequal distribution generates resentment. These effects accumulate gradually. Leadership presence matters. Regular visits reinforce commitment. Prolonged absence signals neglect. Settlers interpret attention as investment. Over time, it influences willingness to cooperate during emergencies. Handling disputes reveals governance philosophy. Mediating conflicts patiently builds legitimacy. Imposing authority creates compliance without loyalty. Avoidance allows tensions to fester. These outcomes influence internal stability. Resource scarcity tests leadership. Allocating supplies during shortages reveals ethical priorities. Protecting vulnerable populations strengthens trust. Favoring productivity over welfare introduces fracture. Settlement quests often reflect political tensions. Resolving them diplomatically promotes unity. Using force establishes dominance. Each approach reshapes community culture. Some settlers emerge as informal leaders. Recognizing and empowering them enhances efficiency. Ignoring them creates parallel authority structures. These dynamics influence long-term cohesion. Cultural development also matters. Establishing recreational spaces encourages morale. Neglecting social needs fosters fatigue. These factors influence defense readiness. Trade relations extend political influence. Supporting nearby communities builds alliances. Exploiting them generates resentment. These reputations spread through caravans and travelers. The presence of companions within settlements affects dynamics. High affinity companions inspire confidence. Low affinity companions create tension. Their behavior influences resident attitudes. Settlement size introduces complexity. Larger populations require structured management. Without it, inefficiency grows. Planning becomes essential. Certain rare outcomes depend on sustained governance. Sabotage and infiltration pose hidden threats. Maintaining vigilance reduces risk. Ignoring security allows compromise. These outcomes reflect leadership attentiveness. Technological investments influence social hierarchy. Advanced facilities create expertise centers. Limited infrastructure preserves egalitarianism. Each path shapes culture. Responding to external threats reveals strategic priorities. Mobilizing defenses promptly reinforces authority. Delayed response undermines confidence. Environmental storytelling reflects governance outcomes. Well-managed settlements appear organized and vibrant. Poorly managed ones appear neglected and tense. Companions comment on settlement conditions. Their remarks reflect accumulated observations. These insights guide future improvements. Even minor gestures, such as resolving water shortages quickly, carry symbolic value. They reinforce reliability. Failing settlements do not collapse suddenly. They decline gradually. Productivity wanes. Requests increase. Migration rises. These patterns mirror real political erosion. High governance quality unlocks cooperation between settlements. Joint defense operations become possible. Trade networks strengthen. Conversely, authoritarian management produces compliance without resilience. Settlements function, but morale remains low. Crisis response weakens. Autonomous models produce mixed results. Innovation increases. Coordination suffers. These paths require careful balance. Certain factions respond to settlement governance. The Minutemen favor decentralized cooperation. The Brotherhood prefers centralized control. The Institute monitors infrastructure development. Alignments affect interactions. Leadership style becomes visible through routine behavior. Predictability builds trust. Erratic management undermines it. Settlement radio beacons reflect political health. Active networks indicate stability. Silence indicates decline. Post-game conditions preserve these outcomes. Settlements remain strong or fragile based on earlier choices. Ignoring political development produces utilitarian outposts rather than communities. They function, but lack identity. Fallout 4 presents settlement management as governance simulation rather than construction exercise. Every structural choice carries social implication. By attending to morale, equity, and security, the Wanderer cultivates resilient communities. Through neglect or imbalance, fragile systems persist. These micro-societies become mirrors reflecting leadership philosophy. Each wall, crop field, and clinic embodies accumulated priorities. In shaping settlements patiently, the player constructs more than shelters. They create political ecosystems where trust, cooperation, and survival intertwine. The Commonwealth remembers these decisions not through speeches, but through daily life, through full harvests, defended gates, and quiet nights without alarms. In these ordinary moments, the true legacy of leadership is revealed. The fate of the Brotherhood of Steel in the Commonwealth is never decided through a single battle or declaration. It unfolds gradually through accumulated loyalties, strategic alignments, and moral positioning established over many hours of interaction. Long before the final confrontation approaches, the conditions for survival or destruction are already in place, shaped by countless small choices that rarely appear significant at the time. From the moment the Pridwen arrives, the Brotherhood becomes a visible symbol of order and authority. Its towering presence inspires confidence in some and fear in others. How the Wanderer responds to this arrival establishes an early stance. Welcoming cooperation reinforces alliance. Maintaining distance preserves neutrality. Participation in Brotherhood operations deepens institutional dependence. Completing missions faithfully strengthens logistical integration. Delaying or neglecting assignments weakens influence. These patterns determine whether the organization views the Wanderer as indispensable or expendable. Trust within the hierarchy plays a central role. High standing with officers such as Danse and Kells facilitates access to sensitive information. Low standing restricts involvement. These dynamics shape awareness of internal vulnerabilities and contingency plans. The organization's aggressive stance towards synths creates persistent tension. Supporting these policies reinforces ideological alignment. Questioning them introduces doubt. These positions influence whether compromise remains possible. Relations with rival factions also determine outcome. Open cooperation with the Railroad or Institute increases suspicion. Strategic neutrality preserves flexibility. Public opposition accelerates escalation. Each approach reshapes diplomatic terrain. Certain quests function as pivotal thresholds. Choices made during intelligence gathering, sabotage operations, and rescue missions influence institutional resilience. Successful protection of assets strengthens infrastructure. Neglect exposes weaknesses. The treatment of civilian populations affects public perception. Respectful engagement builds legitimacy. Harsh enforcement breeds resentment. Companion reactions reveal moral undercurrents. Characters such as Danse, Piper, and Deacon comment on Brotherhood actions. Their approval or disapproval reflects accumulated ethical alignment. Internal discipline becomes more rigid when trust diminishes. Surveillance intensifies. Autonomy decreases. These changes signal approaching fracture. Conversely, strong alliances produce increased authority. Trusted operatives receive command discretion. Dialogue expands. Strategic consultation increases. These privileges reinforce mutual dependence. The question of the Institute becomes central. Choosing whether to prioritize destruction, containment, or reform defines strategic trajectory. These positions determine whether coexistence remains possible. Rare dialogue paths appear when high rank and ethical consistency align. These conversations reveal contingency planning and internal doubts. Missing them limits strategic awareness. Timing plays a critical role. Advancing certain quests prematurely may lock hostile outcomes. Delaying others preserves negotiation windows. Narrative sequencing becomes essential. When conflict escalates toward open war, prior investments become visible. Fortifications, intelligence networks, and alliances reflect earlier choices. Strong preparation enables survival. Weak foundations invite collapse. Supporting evacuation and civilian safety during battles reinforces moral authority. Ignoring collateral damage undermines legitimacy. These choices affect post-conflict dialogue. If the Brotherhood is destroyed, its absence reshapes the Commonwealth. Patrols vanish, technology caches remain abandoned. Settlements adjust security practices. This transformation occurs quietly, without formal acknowledgement. If the Brotherhood survives, it consolidates power. Outposts expand, regulations increase, technological monopolies strengthen. These developments influence regional stability. Intermediate outcomes also exist. Partial survival produces fragmented authority. Some chapters persist, others dissolve. This path reflects incomplete alliances. Certain endings require careful balance between loyalty and restraint. Blind obedience risks entanglement in destructive campaigns. Persistent opposition leads to elimination. Moderation preserves institutional influence. Post-game environments reflect these trajectories. Soldiers' dialogue changes. Equipment availability shifts. Radio broadcasts adapt. These cues reinforce permanence. Maxon's perception remains decisive. His judgment reflects accumulated reports and personal interactions. His final decisions are rarely spontaneous. The destruction of the Pridwen represents symbolic collapse. It signifies the failure of centralized control. Achieving this outcome requires coordinated action and faction alignment. Preventing its destruction requires sustained loyalty and strategic cooperation. Sabotage prevention, intelligence sharing, and conflict mediation become essential. Environmental storytelling emphasizes aftermath. Wreckage, memorials, or reinforced structures reflect institutional fate. Ignoring Brotherhood involvement produces alternate trajectories. The organization remains peripheral, neither dominant nor destroyed. Rare outcomes remain inaccessible. The Brotherhood storyline demonstrates Fallout 4's layered approach to power. Institutions rise and fall, not through heroics alone, but through accumulated credibility and conflict. Each interaction contributes to this balance. A conversation held respectfully, a mission completed with care, a policy questioned thoughtfully. These fragments shape destiny. By navigating these systems attentively, the Wanderer determines whether the Brotherhood becomes guardian, oppressor, or memory. No outcome is labeled correct. Each reflects a philosophy enacted over time. In the end, the Brotherhood's survival or destruction becomes a mirror of the player's approach to authority and ethics. It reveals whether power was treated as responsibility, instrument, or obstacle. Through quiet accumulation rather than sudden reversal, Fallout 4 transforms institutional fate into a long conversation between intention and consequence, carried out across countless small choices that only reveal their full meaning when it is finally too late to change them. The Railroad's survival in the Commonwealth depends not on numbers or territory, but on discretion, loyalty, and the careful management of fragile networks. Unlike other factions, its strength lies in invisibility. Its victories are measured in lives relocated and identities preserved rather than territory claimed. Whether it endures or dissolves is determined quietly through accumulated trust and operational discipline. From the moment membership is established, every mission contributes to organizational resilience. Successful escorts, secure communications, and intact safe houses reinforce stability. Failures introduce cascading vulnerabilities. These outcomes rarely produce immediate consequences. Instead, they manifest later through compromised routes and lost contacts. Protection of safe houses becomes a central responsibility. Responding promptly to distress signals preserves infrastructure. Delayed intervention allows infiltration. Each compromised location weakens morale and restricts movement. These losses accumulate silently. Information security remains paramount. Maintaining confidentiality protects agents and refugees. Sharing intelligence with rival factions, even indirectly, undermines credibility. Violations result in reduced access rather than open confrontation. Leadership trust, particularly with Desdemona, evolves through consistency. Reliable operatives receive sensitive assignments. Unpredictable behavior limits involvement. These evaluations shape strategic influence. The survival of key agents reflects player choices. Reckless engagement increases casualties. Careful planning preserves lives. These outcomes influence future mission availability and dialogue tone. Interactions with Deacon, Glory, and Tinker Tom reflect organizational health. High morale produces cooperative dialogue. Declining morale introduces tension and withdrawal. These cues signal network stability. The Battle of Bunker Hill represents a major inflection point. Supporting synth evacuation strengthens railroad standing. Prioritizing faction dominance weakens it. Outcomes here ripple across subsequent operations. Support during Institute conflicts becomes decisive. Protecting railroad assets during major assaults determines long-term survival. Neglect leads to collapse. Certain rare dialogue paths appear only when network integrity remains high. These conversations reveal contingency plans and future visions. Missing them limits narrative depth. Sabotage missions require precision. Excessive force increases exposure. Stealth preserves anonymity. These approaches influence long-term viability. Railroad ideology emphasizes autonomy. Supporting decentralized decision-making reinforces cohesion. Imposing centralized control undermines culture. These choices affect leadership dynamics. Companion reactions reflect moral alignment. Nick, Curie, and Deacon respond positively to railroad success. Danse and Strong often express skepticism. These reactions shape affinity. Resource management also influences outcomes. Supplying agents adequately improves performance. Neglect reduces effectiveness. The organization's reliance on technology creates vulnerability. Protecting communication hubs preserves coordination. Losing them fragments operations. Timing plays a critical role. Delaying key missions allows enemy forces to strengthen. Acting too hastily exposes networks. Balance is essential. If the railroad collapses, its disappearance is subtle. Safe houses empty. Signals fall silent. Agents vanish. The Commonwealth absorbs the loss without ceremony. If it survives, it continues operating discreetly. Synth rescues persist. Codes circulate. Quiet victories accumulate. This endurance reflects sustained discipline. Partial survival produces fragmented networks. Some cells persist independently, others dissolve. Coordination weakens. Certain endings require full commitment. Balancing alliances while preserving secrecy unlocks rare stability outcomes. Post-game environments reflect these trajectories. Terminals update, agent dialogue changes, hidden caches remain or disappear. Desdemona's leadership style adapts to outcomes. Successful operations strengthen confidence. Failures produce caution. Environmental storytelling emphasizes absence or continuity. Abandoned safe houses or maintained routes reveal fate. Ignoring railroad development results in peripheral presence. Core narratives remain unexplored. The railroad's storyline emphasizes that resistance movements survive through trust rather than dominance. Every compromised detail threatens collapse. Each decision becomes a thread in a fragile web, a careless remark, a delayed response, a misplaced allegiance. These fragments determine longevity. By valuing discretion, empathy, and consistency, The Wanderer preserves an underground lifeline for those without power. Through neglect or exposure, that lifeline frays. The railroad's victory, when achieved, remains invisible to most. It leaves no monuments. It creates no empires. It exists only in the continued freedom of individuals who move quietly through the Commonwealth, protected by choices made far from public recognition. In this way, the railroad's survival becomes a testament to unseen labor and sustained moral commitment. Its fate reflects whether the Wanderer chose patience over spectacle, loyalty over convenience, and quiet perseverance over visible authority. The Institute's future rests not on technological superiority alone, but on the philosophy that guides its application. Whether it emerges as a dominant power or transforms into a reform-oriented society depends on accumulated leadership choices, ethical positioning, and sustained engagement. These outcomes are never announced directly. They unfold quietly through policies, priorities, and institutional culture. Assuming influence within the Institute establishes initial direction. Supporting inclusive governance encourages collaboration. Reinforcing strict hierarchy preserves centralized authority. These early stances shape internal expectations. Reform begins with dialogue. Questioning established practices opens debate. Endorsing existing systems reinforces continuity. These conversations influence departmental behavior. Synth treatment remains the defining issue. Advocating autonomy initiates cultural change. Supporting instrumentalization perpetuates control. These positions affect recruitment, morale, and external relations. Research funding allocation reflects values. Investing in medicine and agriculture strengthens humanitarian impact. Prioritizing weapons development increases militarization. Focusing on robotics enhances automation. These choices redefine institutional identity. Leadership style influences compliance. Collaborative approaches build loyalty. Authoritarian methods secure obedience without commitment. Indecision weakens credibility. Department head relationships evolve accordingly. Allies emerge through shared values. Opponents consolidate through ideological conflict. Internal politics reflect these dynamics. Surface world engagement becomes increasingly significant. Negotiating partnerships fosters legitimacy. Enforcing dominance breeds resistance. Isolation intensifies mistrust. The Institute's stance towards settlements influences stability. Supporting reconstruction promotes cooperation. Neglect reinforces dependency. These strategies shape regional perception. Railroad relations depend on synth policy. Reform reduces hostility. Domination escalates conflict. These outcomes affect operational security. Brotherhood responses mirror perceived threat levels. Moderate governance reduces confrontation. Expansionist policies provoke war. Certain rare dialogue paths require sustained reformist behavior. These conversations reveal hidden dissent and support networks. Missing early opportunities blocks them. Terminal entries document evolving governance. Discovering them provides insight into internal shifts and unlocks reflective dialogue. Succession planning influences continuity. Inclusive leadership stabilizes reform. Centralization risks fragmentation. Technological distribution becomes a moral test. Open access fosters development. Restriction preserves dominance. These decisions shape economic structures. Environmental storytelling reflects ideological outcomes. Laboratories display new projects. Personnel behavior adapts. Public spaces change tone. Companion reactions reinforce ethical alignment. Curie, Nick, and Piper respond favorably to reform. Danse and Strong express skepticism. These responses affect affinity. Handling dissent determines cultural resilience. Encouraging debate promotes adaptation. Suppressing criticism fosters stagnation. Crisis management reveals institutional character. Transparent responses build trust. Concealment erodes credibility. Certain missions offer branching outcomes tied to governance philosophy. Choosing inclusive solutions unlocks cooperative paths. Choosing coercive methods restricts them. If domination prevails, the Institute consolidates control, surveillance expands, resource monopolies strengthen, surface populations become dependent. This path produces stability without freedom. If reform succeeds, gradual integration emerges, joint projects develop, educational exchanges increase, trust builds slowly. This outcome requires sustained effort. Hybrid outcomes reflect partial reform. Some departments adapt, others resist. Progress remains fragile. Ignoring leadership responsibilities produces default authoritarian trajectories. Post-game environments preserve these legacies. Patrol patterns shift, trade networks adapt, dialogue reflects ideological direction. Father's final communications reflect governance outcomes. Reconciled paths express hope. Rigid paths emphasize control. Even after leadership transitions, institutional memory persists. Policies endure. Cultural norms remain. Change requires reinforcement. The Institute's arc illustrates Fallout 4's exploration of power and ethics. Every interaction contributes to this balance. A supportive conversation, a policy challenged, a compromise accepted. These fragments shape destiny. By committing to ethical leadership, the Wanderer transforms inherited systems into cooperative frameworks. Through domination or neglect, those systems harden. No ending presents complete resolution. Each reflects trade-offs embedded within governance. The Institute's future becomes a reflection of how authority was exercised. Whether it becomes guardian, overseer, or isolated enclave depends entirely on accumulated choices. Through quiet administration rather than dramatic revolution, Fallout 4 presents institutional transformation as a slow process shaped by patience and integrity. In guiding or resisting the Institute's power, the player determines whether innovation serves liberation or control. The outcome emerges not through a single decisive act, but through hundreds of subtle decisions that together define what progress truly means in a fractured world. Throughout the Commonwealth, many of the rarest outcomes are hidden not behind major battles or faction decisions, but within quiet conversations and narrowly timed responses. These secret dialogue routes exist as fragile threads woven into ordinary encounters. They appear briefly, often without warning, and disappear just as easily when overlooked. Speech checks form the most visible layer of this system. Certain responses require specific charisma thresholds or temporary enhancements. Preparing for these moments through clothing, chems, or companion perks increases access. Arriving unprepared closes paths silently. The opportunity may never return. Yet numbers alone do not unlock every rare exchange. Timing matters equally. Some dialogue appears only during narrow windows between quest stages. Advancing too quickly removes these options. Delaying preserves them. Narrative pacing becomes a hidden skill. Tone also governs availability. Polite phrasing invites cooperation. Aggressive phrasing provokes resistance. Neutral responses maintain ambiguity. These nuances influence which branches remain visible. Certain characters offer unique dialogue after witnessing specific actions. Rescuing civilians, sparing enemies, or completing side objectives can unlock contextual responses. Missing these prerequisites results in generic exchanges. Companion presence modifies conversations. Bringing particular allies introduces additional lines. High affinity unlocks supportive interjections. Low affinity suppresses them. These dynamics affect negotiation outcomes. Environmental context plays a role. Some conversations change depending on location, time of day, or nearby threats. Speaking during combat or emergencies limits depth. Waiting creates opportunity. Quest failure states also generate rare dialogue. Ignoring time-sensitive requests or allowing NPCs to perish unlocks alternate reactions and story fragments. These outcomes are often undocumented and easily missed. Certain speech options require prior investigation. Reading terminals, finding holotapes, or speaking to secondary characters provides contextual knowledge. Without this information, critical responses never appear. Rare intimidation routes exist as well. High strength or specific perks unlock forceful resolutions. These paths produce distinct reactions and long-term consequences. Bribery options appear under precise economic conditions. Carrying sufficient caps unlocks pragmatic solutions. Lacking funds closes them. These mechanics encourage financial planning. Some dialogue chains require multi-stage consistency. Selecting supportive responses across several conversations gradually unlocks confessional moments. A single contradictory reply can collapse the chain. Faction alignment alters available speech. Brotherhood affiliation opens military channels. Railroad membership introduces covert language. Institute alignment unlocks technical discourse. Switching loyalties disrupts continuity. Certain NPCs possess hidden approval systems separate from companions. Merchants, settlers, and quest givers remember repeated interactions. High approval unlocks personal dialogue. The order of quest completion affects narrative structure. Completing side quests before main missions often unlocks expanded dialogue during pivotal scenes. Reversing this order simplifies interactions. Low probability outcomes also exist. Randomized events combined with specific choices trigger rare lines. These require repeated playthroughs to observe. Some dialogue branches acknowledge previous moral patterns. Frequent mercy unlocks compassionate resolutions. Consistent ruthlessness opens darker paths. These cumulative systems operate invisibly. Developers embedded these routes to reward attentiveness. They encourage players to listen carefully, revisit locations, and consider consequences beyond immediate objectives. Post-game dialogue also reflects rare choices. Certain epilogues and companion comments appear only when specific chains are completed. Ignoring optional conversations reduces narrative depth. Many of these exchanges are not marked as quests. They exist only for those who linger. Certain rare endings require successful navigation of multiple dialogue chains across different factions. Missing any component collapses the outcome. Reputation within settlements influences access to sensitive information. Well-regarded leaders receive confessions. Distrusted outsiders do not. Dialogue with children and elders often contains hidden triggers. These characters share insights only when approached respectfully. Some conversations occur only once. Choosing incorrectly eliminates future access. The game rarely warns of this permanence. Holotapes and terminal entries sometimes unlock retrospective dialogue. Revisiting characters after discovering information creates new branches. Emotional states matter. NPCs respond differently after traumatic events. Returning at the right time unlocks vulnerability. Certain persuasion attempts become available only after demonstrating practical competence. Completing related tasks increases credibility. Through these layered systems, Fallout 4 transforms dialogue into an exploration tool. It rewards patience, preparation, and empathy. Rare outcomes emerge when multiple hidden conditions align. They cannot be forced. They must be cultivated. By slowing down, observing context, and respecting narrative rhythm, the Wanderer uncovers conversations that reshape understanding of characters and events. These secret routes remind players that stories do not exist only in scripted milestones. They unfold in fleeting moments, available only to those who choose to listen when the world is quiet. In these whispered exchanges and unmarked branches, the Commonwealth reveals its deepest layers. Each missed line represents a path not taken. Each discovered one becomes a private chapter preserved within memory, shaped entirely by attention and care. Not every story in the Commonwealth reaches a clear conclusion. Many quests exist within fragile windows of opportunity, dependent on timing, attention, and restraint. When these conditions are missed, narratives do not end with failure screens or dramatic consequences. They simply fade. Characters vanish, dialogue stops, objectives disappear. The player is rarely informed that something meaningful has been lost. Time-sensitive quests represent the most common source of hidden failure. Certain settlers, merchants, and companions request assistance under implied urgency. Delaying these tasks allows circumstances to change. Hostages may perish, facilities may fall, opportunities close quietly. The journal offers no explanation. The world simply adjusts. Some missions fail when related storylines advance too far. Progressing main faction quests may override unresolved side content. Characters relocate, become hostile, or become inaccessible. Their unfinished stories are replaced by altered routines. Without careful sequencing, these threads dissolve. Environmental hazards also influence outcomes. Radiation storms, enemy raids, and wandering predators can eliminate key NPCs unexpectedly. Without immediate intervention, quest givers may die permanently. Their narratives end without resolution. Settlement-related quests are especially vulnerable. Neglecting defense requests leads to structural damage and civilian casualties. Over time, repeated failures reduce morale and accessibility. Some opportunities never reappear. Certain companion arcs depend on timely responses. Ignoring personal quests after initial triggers causes emotional withdrawal. Dialogue options retract. Affinity progression slows. In some cases, romance paths close irreversibly. Quest items may also disappear. Dropping, selling, or misplacing unique objects can break narrative chains. Without them, specific dialogue and endings become inaccessible. The game rarely provides recovery mechanisms. Failing speech checks can permanently alter storylines. Some persuasion attempts cannot be retried. Choosing incorrect responses locks paths. Later success becomes impossible. Some NPCs relocate dynamically. If not approached promptly, they move to hostile zones or die in unrelated conflicts. Their associated quests vanish. The Institute and Brotherhood both override minor storylines during major campaigns. Invasion events alter settlement populations. Supporting characters may be reassigned or eliminated. Their side arcs conclude silently. Ignoring distress signals from traders and caravans increases risk of loss. Dead merchants remove access to special inventories and personal stories. Certain quests require multi-stage commitment. Completing early objectives without following through dissolves progression. The narrative remains unfinished. Moral choices also influence failure. Betraying trust eliminates future collaboration. Characters may refuse further contact. Their arcs close quietly. Some rare failures unlock alternate dialogue. Survivors reference loss. Companions express regret. These moments acknowledge absence rather than success. Hidden reputation systems contribute to missed content. Low approval prevents quest activation. Without visible indicators, players may never realize opportunities existed. Failing to explore thoroughly causes loss. Unvisited terminals, hidden rooms, and forgotten notes contain triggers for additional missions. Without discovery, these stories never begin. Over-reliance on fast travel reduces chance encounters. Random events that initiate quests may never occur. Slow exploration increases narrative exposure. Certain quests require presence at specific locations during precise windows. In some cases, success in one faction blocks content in another. Exclusive alliances eliminate rival narratives. These losses are permanent. Ignoring companion advice often signals missed opportunities. Their hints guide toward hidden objectives. Disregarding them reduces access. Some failures produce altered endings rather than complete absence. NPCs may survive but remain hostile. Communities may persist in decline. Post-game dialogue reflects missed content. Characters reference unresolved conflicts. These hints indicate lost possibilities. Fallout 4 does not present missed quests as mistakes. It treats them as natural consequences of limited attention. No playthrough can contain everything. This design encourages acceptance of incompleteness. It reflects a world where not every problem is solved and not every voice is heard. Players who seek comprehensive exploration must balance urgency with patience. Rushing risks loss. Excessive delay also risks loss. Equilibrium is required. Some of the most poignant moments arise from failure. Discovering abandoned camps, empty homes, and unresolved terminals conveys emotional depth. These absences become part of the story. They remind the wanderer that presence matters. Rare outcomes sometimes emerge from failure. Unexpected alliances, altered power structures, and unique dialogues arise only when standard quests collapse. Understanding this system transforms perception. Missed content is not wasted potential, it is alternative narrative. Every vanished quest represents a path that existed briefly before fading. Every silent character reflects a moment of inattention. Through this design, Fallout 4 teaches that exploration is not about completion. It is about experience shaped by choice and limitation. In navigating these fragile narratives, the player learns to listen closely, move thoughtfully, and accept that some stories will always remain untold, preserved only in the quiet spaces where opportunity once waited. The endings of Fallout 4 are not isolated conclusions reached through single, decisive acts. They are the visible surface of long processes shaped by alignment, loyalty, and moral consistency. Long before final missions appear in the journal, the structure of each possible ending is already forming through accumulated choices and shifting alliances. Each major faction represents a philosophical path. The Minutemen embody decentralized cooperation. The Brotherhood reflects hierarchical control. The Railroad emphasizes individual freedom. The Institute prioritizes technological governance. Aligning with any one of these gradually narrows remaining possibilities. Early neutrality preserves flexibility. Assisting multiple factions without full commitment keeps dialogue channels open. Premature exclusivity restricts options. Maintaining balance requires careful sequencing and restraint. Key quests act as points of no return. Accepting certain missions permanently closes rival paths. The game rarely announces these thresholds. Recognition depends on narrative awareness. Faction reputation systems operate quietly. Completing supportive missions increases trust. Sabotaging objectives erodes it. These invisible metrics determine final invitations and exclusions. The Battle of Bunker Hill functions as a major convergence point. Actions taken here influence perception across factions. Protecting specific assets or individuals alters future access. Dialogue during leadership meetings shapes outcomes. Expressing willingness to negotiate preserves alternative endings. Issuing ultimatums accelerates conflict. Companion affiliations also affect endings. High affinity with faction-aligned companions reinforces commitment. Low affinity introduces doubt. Preparation during mid-game phases influences late-game capability. Resource stockpiles, settlement networks, and technological access affect mission viability. Certain endings require successful completion of multiple hidden prerequisites. Neglecting any component invalidates the path. These dependencies are rarely documented. The Institute's succession arc represents one such requirement. Failing to establish influence prevents reformist endings. Railroad survival similarly conditions peaceful resolutions. If their network collapses, certain endings vanish. Brotherhood stability determines whether negotiated outcomes remain possible. Organizational collapse forces destructive conclusions. Minutemen development influences civilian-centered endings. Weak infrastructure limits their capacity. Timing remains critical. Delaying final faction quests preserves flexibility. Advancing them prematurely enforces alignment. Some endings depend on covert sabotage rather than overt confrontation. These require stealth-oriented play and precise quest handling. Environmental cues signal approaching finality. Increased patrols, restricted access, and altered dialogue indicate narrowing paths. The nuclear option represents irreversible commitment. Once activated, alternatives dissolve. This decision carries lasting narrative weight. Rare hybrid endings exist. These preserve limited coexistence between factions. Achieving them requires sustained moderation and conflict mediation. Moral positioning influences epilogues. Compassionate governance yields hopeful outcomes. Authoritarian control produces stability without freedom. Post-ending environments reflect these choices. Patrol patterns, settlement behavior, and broadcast messages adapt accordingly. Certain companions may leave or remain based on ending alignment. Their presence reflects ethical compatibility. Terminal entries and radio reports after conclusion provide contextual closure. These details reward attentive players. Ignoring faction politics produces default endings. These paths emphasize efficiency over nuance. Endings also differ in emotional tone. Some emphasize reconciliation, others focus on loss. These tones reflect accumulated interactions. The absence of definitive moral labeling reinforces player agency. No ending is presented as universally correct. Each conclusion preserves trade-offs. Security may cost autonomy, freedom may cost stability, progress may cost heritage. Reaching rare endings requires long-term planning. Short-term convenience undermines them. The game encourages players to reflect on consequence rather than optimization. Success is contextual. Multiple playthroughs reveal structural variation. Different sequences expose alternative resolutions. The final missions themselves adapt subtly based on prior choices. Dialogue, allies, and objectives change. Environmental storytelling during endings reinforces themes. Ruins, rebuilt zones, and altered skylines symbolize legacy. Fallout 4's ending structure mirrors its broader narrative design. It emphasizes continuity rather than closure. By recognizing early signals and respecting narrative pacing, the Wanderer can preserve choice until the final moments. Through impatience or rigid allegiance, paths narrow prematurely. Each ending becomes a summary of lived values. It reflects how authority was exercised, alliances were managed, and vulnerability was addressed. In the final analysis, Fallout 4 does not ask which ending is best. It asks which one was earned. Every conversation, every compromise, every refusal contributes to this outcome. The conclusion is not a destination reached suddenly. It is the quiet result of hundreds of small decisions converging into a single irreversible moment. In this way, the endings serve not as finales, but as mirrors reflecting the journey's accumulated meaning, shaped patiently through time, attention, and moral intent. Beyond scripted quests and visible storylines, Fallout 4 contains a network of rare events and hidden encounters that emerge only under precise conditions. These moments are not marked by notifications or journal updates. They appear briefly, shaped by location, timing, reputation, and chance. Many players complete multiple journeys without ever witnessing them. Random encounters form the foundation of this system. Traveling slowly across roads and unmarked terrain increases exposure. Fast travel reduces opportunities. Each region maintains its own pool of possible events, influenced by progression and faction alignment. Some encounters require specific companions. Bringing Nick Valentine triggers investigations into missing persons. Traveling with Piper unlocks journalist interactions. Having Strong prompts mutant-related confrontations. Without these companions present, these moments never occur. Settlement development influences events. Prosperous communities attract traders, refugees, and inspectors. Neglected settlements draw raiders and scavengers. These dynamics create localized narratives. Faction reputation alters encounter frequency. Brotherhood alignment increases patrol sightings. Railroad affiliation produces covert meetings. Institute involvement triggers surveillance incidents. These patterns reflect systemic awareness. Certain rare events require quest prerequisites. Completing investigative storylines unlocks follow-up encounters. Ignoring them prevents closure. Time of day also matters. Some events occur only at night. Others appear at dawn or dusk. Traveling during varied hours increases exposure. Weather influences probability. Radiation storms and fog alter encounter tables. Some scenes appear only under specific conditions. Geographic triggers remain essential. Bridges, crossroads, and ruins host recurring events. Learning these locations improves discovery. Some encounters form multi-stage narratives. Initial meetings lead to later reunions if earlier choices were compassionate. Hostile responses terminate chains. NPC survival matters. Protecting minor characters enables later appearances. Allowing them to die collapses potential storylines. Rare merchant caravans offer unique inventories and dialogue. Missing them limits access to specialized equipment and lore. Certain encounters reflect prior moral patterns. Frequent mercy triggers grateful survivors. Ruthlessness triggers revenge seekers. Low probability events exist. These may appear only after dozens of hours. Patience becomes necessary. Some encounters involve hidden skill checks. High perception or luck reveals additional options. Without these attributes, scenes remain incomplete. Environmental storytelling enhances these moments. Abandoned campsites, makeshift shrines, and scavenger notes often accompany encounters. Observing them unlocks context. Children and elders appear in specific rare events. Their stories provide glimpses into generational adaptation. Missing them reduces narrative depth. Radio signals occasionally trigger encounters. Responding promptly unlocks dynamic missions. Delays dissolve them. Certain encounters reference past actions. Saved NPCs recognize assistance. Betrayed ones confront past choices. These callbacks reinforce continuity. Post-game events also occur. After major endings, new encounters reflect political shifts. These scenes reveal long-term consequences. Some rare events unlock unique companions or temporary allies. Missing them prevents access. The Institute's surveillance network produces occasional confrontations. These require specific alignment and timing. Random battles between factions may include named characters. Intervening alters future relations. Some hidden encounters involve moral dilemmas without clear reward. Their purpose is thematic rather than mechanical. Documentation of these events is intentionally sparse. Discovery relies on exploration rather than guidance. Developers use these systems to simulate a living world. Not everything waits for the player. Repeated exploration of familiar routes increases discovery. Subtle variations accumulate. Certain encounters are mutually exclusive. Triggering one prevents another. No single journey contains all. Low-level characters encounter different events than high-level ones. Progression changes narrative tone. Environmental hazards sometimes initiate encounters. Collapsing structures, traps, and wildlife migrations create emergent scenes. Some rare moments involve non-hostile observation. Watching distant interactions reveals micro-narratives. Ignoring combat and choosing observation preserves these scenes. Rushing through eliminates them. Certain encounters become available only after extended absence from regions. Returning later reveals change. Collecting holotapes and notes related to encounters sometimes triggers follow-ups. These systems reward slow travel, curiosity, and restraint. They discourage optimization. By wandering without fixed objectives, players increase exposure to hidden narratives. Many of these encounters remain undocumented in official guides. They survive through shared memory. Each discovered moment becomes personal. It cannot be replicated exactly. Through this design, Fallout 4 transforms exploration into narrative archaeology. Stories are scattered, waiting to be uncovered. Rare events remind the wanderer that the Commonwealth exists independently of quests. Lives intersect briefly and move on. In encountering these fleeting scenes, players glimpse a world that continues, whether observed or not. These hidden moments become some of the most enduring memories, not because they were announced, but because they were found. They represent rewards for patience, attention, and willingness to wander without expectation, allowing the Commonwealth to reveal itself slowly, one quiet encounter at a time. Every choice in the Commonwealth, whether spoken aloud or enacted through movement, leaves behind subtle traces that persist long after the moment has passed. Fallout 4 preserves these traces through a complex system of long-term consequences that rarely announce themselves. Instead, they emerge gradually through altered dialogue, environmental changes, and shifting relationships. Early moral patterns establish narrative momentum. Consistently choosing compassion builds reputations that unlock cooperative responses. Repeated brutality cultivates fear and resistance. These reputations operate invisibly, shaping future interactions. NPC memory functions as a distributed system. Characters reference past assistance, betrayal, or neglect across multiple quests. These callbacks reinforce continuity and influence willingness to cooperate. Settlement populations reflect leadership history. Well-protected communities grow, neglected ones decline. These demographic changes influence available services and defense. Faction intelligence networks track behavior. High trust unlocks sensitive assignments. Low trust triggers surveillance and restrictions. These dynamics operate quietly. Certain companions adapt personality traits over time. Their tone, humor, and confidence shift in response to repeated affirmation or neglect. These changes persist throughout the game. Environmental restoration reflects sustained investment. Clean water systems, rebuilt structures, and improved lighting emerge gradually. These visual cues reflect commitment. Merchants adjust inventory based on relationship history. Loyal customers gain access to rare goods. Hostile traders restrict service. Radio broadcasts evolve. News reflects political developments and moral outcomes. Listening reveals narrative progression. Quest availability responds to long-term patterns. Some missions appear only after demonstrating consistent reliability. Conversely, repeated failure or betrayal reduces access. Cumulative violence influences enemy behavior. Factions adapt tactics. Ambushes increase. Patrol routes change. Peaceful resolution patterns produce diplomatic options. Negotiation becomes easier. Hostility decreases. Certain endings depend on moral trajectories rather than isolated acts. Consistency matters more than intensity. NPC relocation reflects social stability. Prosperous settlements attract migrants, declining ones empty. Children's dialogue changes based on safety levels. These details reinforce emotional realism. Companion epilogues summarize accumulated relationships. Their reflections differ dramatically depending on past interactions. Some rare scenes occur only after extended positive reputation. Citizens organize celebrations. Survivors offer gratitude. Negative reputations trigger avoidance. NPCs cross streets. Dialogue shortens. Assistance declines. Hidden counters track reliability. Completing tasks on time increases trust. Chronic delay reduces it. Technology access reflects institutional confidence. Trusted operatives receive prototypes. Distrusted ones do not. Certain moral failures permanently mark relationships. Apologies cannot restore lost trust. Holotape recordings and letters occasionally reference past deeds. Discovering them reinforces narrative depth. Combat encounters evolve. Enemies anticipate tactics. Difficulty adjusts organically. Environmental hostility shifts. Wildlife migration responds to human activity. Post-game conditions preserve these legacies. Even after main story completion, patterns persist. Some consequences unfold only after long delays. A rescued NPC may reappear dozens of hours later. A neglected area may collapse much later. These delayed effects encourage mindfulness. Actions resonate beyond immediate reward. Developers designed these systems to simulate moral ecology. Every decision alters balance. Ignoring consequence systems produces shallow experience. Attentiveness reveals depth. Even minor gestures contribute. Paying fair prices, respecting boundaries, offering help. Over time, these habits form identity within the world. The Wanderer becomes known not through titles, but through patterns. This identity influences every interaction. Fallout 4 rarely judges these trajectories. It records them. It allows players to witness who they have become through reflection. By observing how the world responds, players learn the meaning of their choices. Some paths produce harmony, others produce isolation. Both are valid narratives. The absence of explicit scoring preserves immersion. Responsibility emerges organically. Long-term consequence systems transform gameplay into moral biography. Every settlement, every companion, every faction remembers fragments. Together, they assemble a portrait of the Wanderer's values. In this way, Fallout 4 becomes less about winning and more about becoming. Each journey tells a different story, not because events change, but because reactions do. Through quiet accumulation, the Commonwealth reflects back the life lived within it, and in those reflections, players find the rarest outcome of all, a world that responds honestly to who they chose to be. Every choice in the Commonwealth, whether spoken aloud or enacted through movement, leaves behind subtle traces that persist long after the moment has passed. Fallout 4 preserves these traces through a complex system of long-term consequences that rarely announce themselves. Instead, they emerge gradually through altered dialogue, environmental changes, and shifting relationship. Early moral patterns establish narrative momentum. Consistently choosing compassion builds reputations that unlock cooperative responses. Repeated brutality cultivates fear and resistance. These reputations operate invisibly, shaping future interactions. NPC memory functions as a distributed system. Characters reference past assistance, betrayal, or neglect across multiple quests. These callbacks reinforce continuity and influence willingness to cooperate. Settlement populations reflect leadership history. Well-protected communities grow, neglected ones decline. These demographic changes influence available services and defense. Faction intelligence networks track behavior. High trust unlocks sensitive assignments. Low trust triggers surveillance and restrictions. These dynamics operate quietly. Certain companions adapt personality traits over time. Their tone, humor, and confidence shift in response to repeated affirmation or neglect. These changes persist throughout the game. Environmental restoration reflects sustained investment. Clean water systems, rebuilt structures, and improved lighting emerge gradually. These visual cues reflect commitment. Merchants adjust inventory based on relationship history. Loyal customers gain access to rare goods. Hostile traders restrict service. Radio broadcasts evolve. News reflects political developments and moral outcomes. Quest availability responds to long-term patterns. Some missions appear only after demonstrating consistent reliability. Conversely, repeated failure or betrayal reduces access. Opportunities disappear quietly. Cumulative violence influences enemy behavior. Factions adapt tactics. Ambushes increase. Patrol routes change. Peaceful resolution patterns produce diplomatic options. Negotiation becomes easier. Hostility decreases. Certain endings depend on moral trajectories rather than isolated acts. Consistency matters more than intensity. NPC relocation reflects social stability. Prosperous settlements attract migrants, declining ones empty. Children's dialogue changes based on safety levels. These details reinforce emotional realism. Companion epilogues summarize accumulated relationships. Their reflections differ dramatically depending on past interactions. Some rare scenes occur only after extended positive reputation. Citizens organize celebrations. Survivors offer gratitude. Negative reputations trigger avoidance. NPCs cross streets. Dialogue shortens. Assistance declines. Hidden counters track reliability. Completing tasks on time increases trust. Chronic delay reduces it. Technology access reflects institutional confidence. Trusted operatives receive prototypes. Distrusted ones do not. Certain moral failures permanently mark relationships. Apologies cannot restore lost trust. Holotape recordings and letters occasionally reference past deeds. Discovering them reinforces narrative depth. Combat encounters evolve. Enemies anticipate tactics. Difficulty adjusts organically. Environmental hostility shifts. Wildlife migration responds to human activity. Post-game conditions preserve these legacies. Even after main story completion, patterns persist. Some consequences unfold only after long delays. A rescued NPC may reappear dozens of hours later. A neglected area may collapse much later. These delayed effects encourage mindfulness. Actions resonate beyond immediate reward. Developers designed these systems to simulate moral ecology. Ignoring consequence systems produces shallow experience. Attentiveness reveals depth. Even minor gestures contribute. Paying fair prices, respecting boundaries, offering help. Over time, these habits form identity within the world. The Wanderer becomes known not through titles, but through patterns. This identity influences every interaction. Fallout 4 rarely judges these trajectories. It records them. It allows players to witness who they have become through reflection. By observing how the world responds, players learn the meaning of their choices. Some paths produce harmony, others produce isolation. Both are valid narratives. The absence of explicit scoring preserves immersion. Responsibility emerges organically. Long-term consequence systems transform gameplay into moral biography. Every settlement, every companion, every faction remembers fragments. Together, they assemble a portrait of the Wanderer's values. In this way, Fallout 4 becomes less about winning and more about becoming. Each journey tells a different story, not because events change, but because reactions do. Through quiet accumulation, the Commonwealth reflects back the life lived within it. And in those reflections, players find the rarest outcome of all, a world that responds honestly to who they chose to be. As the journey through the Commonwealth reaches its later stages, attention gradually shifts from immediate survival toward reflection. The urgency of early exploration softens. Familiar routes replace unknown roads. Former threats become predictable. Within this calmer rhythm, the true meaning of accumulated choices becomes visible. Long-term companions begin referencing shared history more frequently. They recall early struggles, narrow escapes, and moments of uncertainty. These recollections are not scripted summaries. They emerge organically through idle dialogue, shaped by affinity and past decision. Settlements reflect maturity. Early improvised shelters transform into organized communities. Clinics operate reliably, supply lines stabilize, defensive structures become permanent. These developments testify to sustained investment. Former enemies adapt, raiders relocate, supermutants withdraw from contested areas. Remaining threats become localized. This gradual pacification reflects strategic consistency. Faction presence settles into equilibrium. Dominant groups establish routines. Minor factions adapt quietly. Patrol routes become familiar. Political tensions stabilize. Merchants comment on regional safety and prosperity. Prices adjust. Inventories expand. Trade routes flourish or contract, depending on governance. Environmental scars remain. Craters, ruins, and wreckage persist. Yet new structures grow around them. This coexistence symbolizes adaptation rather than erasure. Random encounters shift tone. Fewer desperate survivors appear. More travelers and traders emerge. These changes reflect improved security. Companions' personal growth becomes evident. Kate speaks with steadiness. Curie reflects with confidence. McCready discusses future planning. Nick expresses quiet contentment. These evolutions mirror completed arcs. Unresolved companions remain distant. Their dialogue reflects stagnation. These contrasts emphasize the importance of engagement. Radio broadcasts become more optimistic or authoritarian depending on endings. Listening reveals subtle ideological shifts. Certain post-game quests become available only after stabilization. These narratives explore rebuilding rather than survival. Player identity becomes recognized. NPCs refer to past deeds. Reputation precedes arrival. Conversations adapt accordingly. Children in settlements display confidence or caution based on security levels. Their behavior reflects inherited stability. Technological distribution becomes normalized. Advanced equipment appears in civilian contexts under reformist paths. Under authoritarian paths, it remains restricted. Remaining conflicts become ideological rather than territorial. Some former antagonists become neutral or cooperative. Past mercy influences these transitions. Holotape archives and memorials preserve history. Discovering them reinforces emotional closure. Certain locations transform into symbolic spaces. Former battlefields become markets or memorial sites. Weather patterns and ambient soundscapes feel less threatening. The world grows quieter. The wanderer's routine shifts. Maintenance replaces expansion. Relationships replace recruitment. Exploration continues, but purpose changes. It becomes reflective rather than urgent. Unused weapons gather dust. Favorite tools show wear. These details symbolize settled identity. Companions occasionally express concern about complacency. Their remarks encourage continued vigilance. Some late-game encounters challenge stability. Responding effectively preserves equilibrium. Ignoring them introduces decline. The balance achieved remains fragile. It depends on sustained attention. Neglected settlements may regress. Factions may fracture. Stability is never permanent. Players who disengage entirely witness gradual decay. Systems require stewardship. Those who remain engaged preserve harmony. Post-game life becomes a narrative epilogue written through continued presence. There is no formal ending sequence to this phase. It unfolds indefinitely. Each day adds minor variations. A new trader, a repaired fence, a reopened clinic. These changes accumulate quietly. Fallout 4's late game emphasizes continuity over climax. It invites players to inhabit the world they helped shape. Reflection replaces conquest. The Commonwealth becomes familiar, yet never static. In this stage, success is measured not by victories, but by absence of crisis, by stability maintained rather than enemies defeated. The wanderer becomes a caretaker of equilibrium. Through sustained engagement, the player witnesses the long shadow of earlier choices. Every kindness, every compromise, every sacrifice echoes here. This period reveals whether decisions created resilient systems or fragile ones. In living within these outcomes, players confront the true cost and reward of leadership. The journey does not end, it settles, and within that quiet settlement, meaning emerges. A world no longer defined by chaos, but by the patterns left behind by those who chose to remain and care. In the quiet hours after major conflicts have passed and familiar paths have been walked countless times, the Commonwealth begins to feel less like a battlefield and more like a record of lived experience. Every road carries memory. Every settlement holds traces of past struggle and cooperation. Every companion reflects a shared history shaped through patience and choice. At this stage, the wanderer is no longer defined by urgency. Survival has become routine. Danger has become manageable. What remains is presence. The decision to continue walking these lands not for necessity, but for connection and stewardship. Former enemies have names now. Former strangers offer greetings. Former ruins serve new purposes. These transformations reflect accumulated effort. The map no longer represents unknown territory. It represents relationships. Each marker corresponds to a story. Each route recalls a moment. Companions travel more quietly. They speak less of fear and more of plans. Their confidence reflects shared endurance. Settlements function without constant supervision. Systems operate reliably. Communities sustain themselves. This autonomy represents success. Radio signals shift towards stability. The environment adapts. Wildlife patterns stabilize. Weather feels less hostile. Night feels safer. Occasional conflicts still arise. They are addressed quickly. Resolution replaces escalation. The Wanderer's equipment reflects identity. Chosen weapons and attire symbolize values developed over time. Personal spaces become meaningful. Player homes display collected artifacts. These objects narrate the journey. Holotapes and letters accumulate into archives of experience. Revisiting them reveals narrative depth. Some companions depart temporarily to pursue independent goals. Their trust reflects confidence in return. New travelers recognize reputation. Respect precedes interaction. Small gestures gain importance. Repairing fences, delivering supplies, offering advice. These acts sustain stability. The absence of dramatic music becomes noticeable. Ambient sound dominates. Wind, distant machinery, soft conversation. This quiet reflects achievement. Reflection becomes natural. Players recall early uncertainty and compare it to present calm. The contrast reinforces growth. Not all paths lead here. Some endings preserve tension. Others cultivate peace. Each reflects earlier philosophy. Those who pursued domination maintain order through force. Those who pursued cooperation maintain it through trust. Both require vigilance. Legacy becomes visible through others. Settlers teach children skills learned. Companions reference shared lessons. Knowledge transmits. Mistakes also endure. Scarred zones, abandoned facilities, unresolved conflict. These remind that perfection is unattainable. The Commonwealth remains imperfect. It remains human. Continued presence allows ongoing correction. Some players eventually depart. Others remain indefinitely. Both are valid conclusions. The game offers no final closure. It offers continuity. Meaning arises through participation rather than resolution. By staying, the Wanderer affirms responsibility. By leaving, they accept sufficiency. Every journey thus ends differently. Some conclude with departure, some with return, some with quiet routine. All reflect intention. In this final stage, Fallout 4 reveals its deepest theme, that worlds are not saved once. They are sustained repeatedly, through attention, through empathy, through consistency. The rarest outcome is not dominance, wealth, or power. It is belonging to a place shaped through care, belonging to people who remember, belonging to a story that continues even when no quest remains. In this belonging, the wanderer finds rest, not because danger has vanished, but because purpose has transformed from survival into stewardship, from conquest into connection, from wandering into home. As the quiet of the Commonwealth settles once more, every road, settlement, and distant light becomes part of a shared memory, shaped through countless small decisions. Nothing here was formed by accident. Every alliance, every hesitation, every moment of patience or resolve has woven itself into the fabric of this world. There were no perfect paths, no endings without cost. Only choices made slowly, often without certainty, guided by instinct, compassion, and experience. Some doors opened quietly, others closed without warning, yet each helped define the journey in ways that could never be reversed. Through hidden conversations, fragile friendships, and unseen consequences, the Commonwealth revealed itself not as a place to conquer, but as a place to understand. Its rarest outcomes were never trophies or titles. They were moments of trust, moments of growth, moments when someone chose to listen instead of hurry. Now, as the ruins rest beneath distant stars and familiar voices fade into gentle silence, the story remains unfinished. It continues in every remembered path and every lesson carried forward. There is no need to rush anymore, only to rest within what has been shaped, and to remember that every quiet choice, made with care, has already become part of something lasting.